Inside a lavish presidential suite at the Bulgari Hotel, nearly every one of New York City's most stunning women had gathered. So, let's get back to the main point. Who gets Asher? Zara Thorne's voice was calm, but carried an edge of steel. Because I'm not letting go this time. Not a chance. Having seen an opportunity, she wasn't about to lose her grip again. Jessica Young smiled graciously. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. We need to straighten out our priorities first. The most pressing problem needs to be solved. Everyone in the room knew what she meant. The pressing problem was Leo Flynn. The newest addition to their impromptu alliance, the A-list actress Lena, looked completely bewildered. Her reaction was similar to the others when they'd first heard Asher's inner voice, though not quite as intense. She hadn't experienced it firsthand, after all. Still, when a circle of the city's most powerful women, CEOs, socialites, and the heiresses to the 4 great families, all calmly explained that their world was a pre-written novel, that their lives and loves were all part of script. Well, it was a lot to take in. If some random person on the street had told her this, Lena would have dismissed them as insane. But this group? They weren't crazy. And when a group of sane people starts saying insane things with dead serious expressions, you start to wonder if maybe, just maybe, they're onto something. Sitting next to Lena, Cassie Lee was enjoying the show, watching the famous actress's composure crumble. She had to admit, even in distress, Lena was captivating. It was no wonder she was an it girl. So innocent, so unaware of the game being played. Cassie found herself thinking it would be fun to teach her a thing or two. Damn, Cassie thought with a pang of disappointment. If only Lena were more like Zoe Zhao, broke and desperate for cash. This would be so much easier. Cassie had her own little nest egg, a sizable one at that, but it was nothing compared to a top-tier celebrity's fortune. Lena wasn't just rich. She was make $1 million a week rich. I think we should ask Cassie about Leo Flynn. Khloe Vance piped up, her big, innocent eyes blinking as she shifted the focus. Like Anya, she was part of the Dragon's Den, and she wasn't a low-ranking member, either. Khloe had to be careful. She couldn't reveal her own status as a reincarnator to anyone else. She'd only told Anya because Anya could have flattened her without breaking a sweat. Besides, trying to explain it was a nightmare. Slowly build trust? Not a chance. In her previous life, she'd only discovered Anya's feelings for Asher by sheer dumb luck, and that was after Asher was already dead. Me? Cassie asked, snapping her gaze away from Lena and pointing a thumb at herself, feigning surprise. She'd originally been Leo's plant, his double agent. The Dragon's Den? Oh, she knew it inside and out. And as for selling Leo down the river, she didn't feel a shred of guilt. Her loyalty had always been to the highest bidder, and Leo's side of the deal had been purely transactional. Yep, you Cassie, Khloe said, her smile so sweet it could give you cavities. She caught Cassie's little glance at Lena. Interesting. Khloe filed that away. Thank God she was reincarnated. In her past life, after Asher died, Cassie had joined their quest for revenge and had been a huge help. Khloe had always found it strange, but later learned that Cassie, too, had developed feelings for Asher. She'd even done a background check, confirming Cassie's orientation was, in fact, toward women. To Khloe, anyone who didn't want Asher was perfectly normal, regardless of who they loved. As for Lena, she wasn't one to be trifled with, either. An idea began to form in Khloe's mind. A matchmaking scheme. Yes, she approved of this union. Better to build a bridge than burn one down. A happy occasion, indeed. All eyes in the room turned to Cassie. Being the center of attention for so many beautiful women was a nice ego boost. She gave a nonchalant shrug, ready to spill everything. The Dragon's Den is a big deal overseas. They have a reputation, she began. In terms of influence and financial power. If you want a local comparison, think of a top-tier, second-rate family here in New York. Powerful, but not on the level of the 4 families. She paused for effect. But don't underestimate them. The organization was built from nothing in just 10 years. A third-rate family in this city would need decades, maybe a century, to reach that scale, and even then, there's no guarantee. Leo Flynn built an empire from scratch. He's got skill, and more importantly, the universe seems to be on his side. The women's expressions grew serious. 10 years. From nothing to a major international player. It was a terrifying thought. He really was the novel's protagonist, the center of this world, and they were all just supporting characters. If they hadn't heard Asher's thoughts, they would have followed the script right into his arms. How do we kill him? Zara Thorne's foxy eyes flashed with a cold light, cutting straight to the point. Cassie watched her with amusement. It won't be easy. As the Dragon King, Leo has mastered an ancient martial arts discipline. He's nearing the peak of his power. Plus, He's got aces up his sleeve that even I don't know about. I've seen him walk away from missions where we all left him for dead. He's like a cockroach. Having chosen her side, Cassie held nothing back. The life of a mercenary had been a thrill, all bullets and blood money, but she'd grown tired of it. You can only stand on a mountaintop for so long before the view gets boring. Life with Asher was comfortable. He understood her. He'd even staffed her office with a dozen beautiful assistants. It wasn't a workplace. It was her personal fiefdom, where she was queen, free to flirt and live a life of leisure. Zara's brow furrowed. She knew it wouldn't be easy. The 6 elite Thorne family operatives she'd lost were proof of that. But hearing it from inside her made the reality sink deeper. She'd still underestimated him. What about this? Zara asked, her voice dangerously quiet as she formed her fingers into the shape of a gun. Can this kill him? The future queen of New York's underworld was nothing if not direct. No matter how skilled you were, you couldn't outrun a bullet. Cassie shook her head. Too risky. Unless you're absolutely certain you can take him out with one shot, I wouldn't try it. Leo Flynn holds a grudge. He's vengeful. Most of the Thorne family's assets are public knowledge. A retaliatory strike would be child's play for him. And his reach isn't just international. He has connections here in the States. You'd never know when or where he'd strike. Cassie paused, then offered a final, sincere warning. Remember, a thief only has to get lucky once. The guard has to be lucky every single day. The room fell silent. Without a foolproof plan, attacking Leo would only invite disaster. As the women debated their next move, Scarlet, Zhao, and Khloe Vance sat together, the 2 she-devils, big and small, looking completely unfazed. Scarlet was already leagues ahead of the others. While they were planning how to take the hill, she'd already captured the castle. Leo had to die, of course. As long as he was alive, Asher was in danger, but she wasn't panicked. Khloe, on the other hand, had her own secret weapon, knowledge of the future. As a reincarnator, she possessed critical information no one else did, an advantage that rivaled even Asher's ability to read the script in real time. She understood the broad strokes, just as he did, but the finer details? Those were trickier. Next to Jessica Young, her sister Catherine, the police detective, shifted uncomfortably. She couldn't believe she was sitting here, discussing a premeditated murder. It went against every principle she had dedicated her life to upholding. Was Leo Flynn a bad guy? From an objective standpoint, he hadn't done anything truly irredeemable yet. But as an insider, she knew the truth. He was destined to kill Asher. And for that reason alone, he deserved to die. Her mind was a tangled mess. What was the right choice? Could she betray 20 years of dedication to justice? All for one man? The group was at an impasse. Zara's plan was simple, brutal, and effective. Lure Leo to a secluded location, staffed entirely with actors. Then, have dozens of men turn him into Swiss cheese. A single family couldn't pull it off without drawing attention. But with the combined resources of the 4 families, they could create a black hole in the middle of the city if they wanted to. Zara volunteered the Thorne family to handle the dirty work. The other 3 would provide logistical and financial support. The sheer audacity of it left even Cassie impressed. Money really did make the world go round. Her boss, Asher, was something else, managing to get a cabal of millionaire women to happily plot a murder for him. The women exchanged glances. It could work. An agreement was formed. They would pool their resources, their money, and their influence. A flicker of hope ignited in the room, until Khloe spoke again, her voice soft but clear, extinguishing that hope in an instant. What if you succeed? She asked, her words landing like ice. What if you kill Leo Flynn, and Asher realizes the plot has gone wrong? So he just kills himself to start over. She let that sink in. Maybe in another timeline, a version of us successfully played out his stupid story. But don't you forget, in this world, we would lose Asher forever. Khloe's words hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. Don't you forget, in this world, we would lose Asher. She was stating a simple, terrifying fact. Of everyone present, she was the only one who truly had the right to speak on the subject. She had lived through that heart-wrenching loss once. She would not endure it a second time. The room plunged into silence. If what Khloe said was true, their plan would only accelerate Asher's death. It was a fool's errand. Scarlet, Zhao's brow furrowed. Khloe had a point, an undeniable one. If Asher died, turning Leo Flynn into dust 1,000 times over wouldn't bring him back. The atmosphere grew heavy. Lena and Cassie Lee, being less emotionally invested, seemed less affected. But the others wore masks of grim contemplation. This won't work, that won't work. Zara Thorne snapped, her frustration boiling over. Are we just supposed to sit back and watch him die? Jessica and Catherine Young both turned their gazes to Khloe, their shared concern for Asher a palpable force in the room. This was exactly the reaction Khloe had been hoping for. A small, sharp smile touched her lips, revealing the tips of her canine teeth. Of course not. Since we can hear his thoughts, we know the script. So, all we have to do is deviate from it. We can slowly, methodically, set traps for Leo until he's completely screwed. She leaned forward. As for the Dragon's Den, we have Anya and Cassie. You two may be here, but you still have loyalists overseas, right? You can have them stir up trouble from the inside. It's like boiling a frog. By the time Leo realizes the water's hot, it'll be too late. Khloe laid out the plan she'd been formulating, a modified version of her original, more direct approach. Her initial thought had been much simpler. Cash in the favor Victor Stone owed her, combine his strength with the now-allied Anya, throw in some of Zara's underworld muscle, and overwhelm Leo with sheer force. Even a demigod bleeds out eventually. But tonight's gathering had thrown a wrench in that plan. A new, more pressing problem had emerged. If Leo Flynn was gone, what was to stop these women from tearing each other apart over Asher? He was one man, and this was a pack of wolves. Khloe had assumed it would take them longer to realize their feelings for him, giving her more time to maneuver. Her last resort had always been to ask her brother what color burlap sack he preferred. But who wouldn't want their family's blessing for their wedding? And more importantly, she knew the depth of these women's devotion to Asher. She'd seen it in the final battle of her past life. They would sacrifice everything for him, even go on the run, living as fugitives. Khloe might be willing to do that, and maybe even Asher would, but would the others let them? No. The key was to buy time. Enough time to secure Asher for herself. Proximity was her greatest advantage. All's fair in love and war, right? I agree with this plan, Scarlet Joe said, speaking for the first time. Her support was immediate and decisive. Her dear sister-in-law was a true gem. Time was exactly what Scarlet needed most, and Khloe's proposal had just handed it to her on a silver platter. Like mines, she thought with a private smile. Khloe blinked, surprised that Scarlet was the first to jump on board. She knew Scarlet well, or at least she knew the she-devil who had tormented her in the days after Asher's death, forcing her to be a substitute hug pillow. Scarlet never did anything that didn't benefit her. Khloe had a nagging feeling she was missing something crucial, especially when she saw the sly smile playing on Scarlet's lips. It felt like she'd just been tricked into helping the enemy count their winnings. With Scarlet's approval, Cassie quickly followed suit. A plan that let her keep her cushy, stress-free job? She was all for it. Jessica Young, however, hesitated, a frown creasing her brow. She sensed something was off. Scarlet's quick agreement was suspicious. There was definitely more to it. Zara Thorne was no fool either, and she remained silent. The room was split. Khloe, Scarlet, and Cassie were firmly in favor. Jessica, Catherine, and Zara were on the fence, sensing a trap. And Serafina Hayes and Lena remained neutral, observing. As the seconds ticked by, Khloe's calm facade began to crack. Damn it. Her plan to play the long game, to quietly secure Asher while everyone was distracted, was falling apart. In her focus on eliminating Leo, she'd forgotten the most important piece on the board, Asher himself. Everything she was doing for him. Putting on a smile, Khloe said, Jessica, if you have a better idea, I'll support it completely. But we can't just sit here and do nothing. Forget killing Leo. Asher is the prize. A sense of urgency gripped her. She had to get back to him, lay her cards on the table before it was too late. As if on cue, Scarlet let out a lazy, theatrical yawn. Khloe's right. If we can't think of anything better, let's not waste any more time. I have a pile of paperwork waiting for me at the office. Cassie nodded in agreement, eager to wrap things up. Jessica had been silently analyzing Scarlet's motives. What was her angle? Then, a thought struck her. She looked at Khloe. Is there any special occasion coming up next month? Khloe paused, tapping a finger against her lips. I don't think so. Wait. She froze, her eyes widening in realization, a reaction mirrored by the sudden tightening of Scarlet's expression. It's Scarlet and Asher's wedding day. The words dropped like a bomb. Every woman in the room turned to glare at Scarlet, their faces darkening. The thief had been caught red-handed. Cornered, Scarlet simply shrugged. She'd hoped to play her cards closer to her chest, but it seemed the jig was up. Sometimes it was better to just go all in. After all, she held the ultimate trump card. Let them all come at her. She was holding a royal flush. At almost the exact same moment, across town, Leo Flynn's phone rang. He glanced at the caller ID, Raina Gao. Red Rose. He was surprised. That was unbelievably fast. Shaking off his shock, he answered, "Well, you have something for me already." "Of course I do. Who do you think you're dealing with?" Raina's voice snapped back, laced with an irritation that barely concealed a flicker of nervousness. Leo paused. Something felt off about her tone. Before he could dwell on it, Raina's impatient voice cut through the line again. "I didn't want you to have any excuse to haggle over the price, so I gave this 110%. Do you want the intel or not?" Whatever her mood, Leo couldn't deny her skills. Red Rose was one of the best hackers in the business. If you wanted her to work fast and hard, you just had to pay. Her reputation as the pay-me-more princess was well-earned. "Talk," Leo said, his eyes narrowing. He was ready to find out which bastard had dared to cross him. He was going to make them pay for tonight's humiliation 100 times over. On the other end of the line, Raina seemed to let out a tiny, almost imperceptible sigh of relief. Leo caught it, but dismissed it as her next words ignited his fury. The mastermind who gave the beauty formula to the Yangs. It's that useless playboy from the Vance family. Asher Vance. Leo's eyes widened in disbelief. A worthless, spoiled brat came up with a revolutionary formula? It made no sense. He was suspicious, deeply suspicious. But for all her greed, Red Rose's intel was always solid. It was the bedrock of her reputation. "So it's you again, you piece of trash," Leo muttered, his voice cold. He immediately blamed Asher for every misfortune that had befallen him that night. It was becoming a pattern. Anytime something went wrong, anytime he felt slighted, it was somehow, some way, Asher's fault. He was lost in thought, and the silence stretched. It was Raina who broke it, her voice suddenly sounding panicked. "Okay, you have the information. Now send the money." I know, Leo snapped, his mind racing. This time, Raina wouldn't be put off. "Leo, if you stiff me on this, we are done. No more deals. Ever." Before he could respond, she hung up. Leo stared at his phone for a few seconds. What the hell is her problem? It's not like I'm not going to pay you. He chalked up her bizarre behavior to one of two things. Either it was that time of the month, or she was finally fed up with him always paying late. But she made too much money off him to just cut ties. It was strange. Still, he needed her for future jobs. With a groan of frustration, he pulled up his banking app and initiated the wire transfer. Every keystroke felt painful. This whole mess, this massive expense, it was all Asher's fault. Their rivalry was no longer just business. It was a blood feud. "Enjoy it while you can, you bastard," Leo seethed. "The second I get a chance, I'm putting you in the ground." He could send his men after that thug Leo Petrocelli, but dealing with Asher required a more personal touch. Just as he finished authorizing the transfer, his phone rang again. It had been less than 10 minutes. He glanced at the screen. Manny Marcos. "What is it?" "Boss, I found him. I found the son of a bitch." Leo was confused. "Who?" "The guy who gave the formula to the Yangs. You'll never believe it. It's that worthless rich kid, Asher Vance." Manny spat. Leo felt his world tilt. Manny was a hacker now? Since when? "Manny, how do you know this?" Leo asked, a terrible feeling creeping into his gut. "Oh, you already knew? Awesome. So what's the plan? How are we going to get revenge?" Manny sounded ecstatic, assuming this was all part of Leo's grand design. "Manny," Leo said, his voice dangerously low, "tell me how you know." "Huh? Oh, it's all over social media. Jessica Young announced it herself at the gala tonight. There are videos everywhere," Manny said, then added with disgust. "And can you believe that bitch proposed to him? To that useless sack of crap. She's got rocked for brains if she can't see he's not worth a tenth of you, boss." Leo's expression was a mask of pure horror. He wasn't listening to the flattery. He finally understood why Raina had been in such a rush to get her money. He'd been played. Beep, beep, beep. He hung up on Manny and immediately dialed his finance guy. "Stop the transfer to Red Rose. Do not send the money." This was fraud. She'd sold him secondhand, public information for $7 million. Not only was he not paying, he was going to demand his money back for emotional distress. He prayed the transfer hadn't gone through yet, that there was a delay. "Boss, what's the issue?" his subordinate asked from the other end. "The money. The $7 million. Did it go through?" Leo yelled, his face beet red. His subordinate, thinking he was being praised for his efficiency, puffed out his chest. "Yes, boss. It's already been deposited. We use the new instant transfer protocol. No waiting period at all. The funds are already in her account." "Who the hell told you to do that?" Leo roared, losing all composure. The man on the other end was stunned. You did, boss." "Yes, I did. But I didn't tell you to use the goddamn instant protocol. You think you're so smart? Maybe you should have my job." "My apologies, boss. I'm sorry." Leo was furious, but he knew it wasn't his subordinate's fault. He was just the one who had to pay, literally, for Asher Vance's schemes. If Asher hadn't given away that stupid formula, Leo's plan would have succeeded. The Yangs would be indebted to him. He wouldn't have wasted $7 million on nothing. It was all Asher's fault. Forget it, Leo said, his voice dropping to an icy calm. It's not your fault. I was agitated. He hung up, leaving his terrified employee to breathe a sigh of relief. He immediately tried calling Raina. The call went straight to voicemail. You have to be kidding me. He tried again. Voicemail. Damn it. She's ghosting me. He slammed his fist on the table. You think you can just steal from me? You got another thing coming, Red Rose. He dialed another number. A young, reedy voice answered. Dragon King? Do you know what time it is? Kevin, when are you back in the States? Leo asked, his face a thundercloud. A week, maybe, replied the teenager on the other end, Kevin Gao. No one would guess that this unassuming kid was one of the top 10 assets in the Dragon's Den, a tech prodigy who fought with drones and algorithms instead of fists. If Kevin had been in the country, Leo never would have needed to hire his sister, Raina. I needed to find a hacker in the U.S. Real name, unknown. Goes by the codename Red Rose. She's well known in the local scene. What's in it for me? Kevin asked bluntly. Leo's eye twitched. The kid had the same mercenary attitude as his sister. Find her, and the meteorite in the vault is yours. You can use it for your research. Done, Kevin said instantly. He'd been eyeing that strange alien metal for years. It was wasted sitting in Leo's vault when it could be used to build next-generation tech. A muffled voice came through the phone. Young master, your warm milk is on the table. Okay, Kevin called back, then spoke into the phone. Dragon King, send me all her banking information and any other data you have. I'll look at it in the morning. He hung up. A cold sneer spread across Leo's face. Still just a kid who needs his milk. The $7 million hurt more than losing the meteorite. That rock was just something he'd stumbled upon. True power came from within, from his own strength, not from external trinkets. Without his gadgets, Kevin was just a scrawny teenager. Power was the only thing that mattered. Meanwhile, at the Vance residence, Asher had no idea when Khloe had gotten home, and he didn't particularly care. But the next morning, as he came downstairs for breakfast, he noticed she was looking at him strangely. It was an unnerving, predatory gaze, as if she were plotting something. Jesus, so much for family. I get treated better by strangers. It wasn't my fault Leo got chased out of the gala last night. Go blame Jessica Young. She's the one who did it. His thoughts were interrupted as Khloe cornered him in a turn of the hallway, out of sight of anyone else. What do you want? Asher asked, annoyed. Whatever it was, why the secrecy? Khloe took a deep breath, her face a mask of seriousness. Asher, do you like me? Asher, do you like me? Asher's first thought was, what? Like you? Are you insane? What kind of crazy talk is that first thing in the morning? He said, try to sidle past her. Don't go. You didn't answer my question. Khloe spread her arms, blocking his path. A jolt of unease went through Asher. He took a half step back, a reflexive action from a man who constantly expected the women around him to pull out knives. But his primary motivation was simpler. He was trying to assess if she was having a psychotic break. If so, she needed immediate medical attention. I don't have time to play house with you, he said, a vein throbbing in his temple. Oh, for crying out loud. Why are you asking me something so childish? Just stop. What if I told you, Khloe said, dropping her voice to a conspiratorial whisper, that we're not actually brother and sister? The words hit Asher like a ton of bricks. He just stared dumbfounded. The two of them stood there, locked in a wide-eyed standoff. The height difference made the scene unintentionally comical. From his vantage point, Khloe's impressive chest was a vast, unending landscape. He used to think the big boobs, no-brain stereotype was just a joke. Now he was looking at living proof. It was an understandable conclusion. The fact that he and Khloe were siblings was a deeply ingrained reality. Sure, he'd read the novel, but he'd forgotten most of the minor details. Between his past life and his current one, he'd been too focused on surviving the plot to delve into convoluted family histories. Khloe saw the gears turning in his head and opened her mouth to say more, but Asher cut her off by placing the back of his hand on her forehead. She froze, stunned. After a moment, he pulled his hand away. Strange. You don't have a fever. So why are you talking nonsense? Heh, not related. Huh? Does that mean I was adopted? This girl is getting sneaky. If you want the inheritance that badly, just say so. You can have it all. I don't want a dime. Why all this drama? Wait a second. What if I really was adopted? Ping. Congratulations, host. You have gained personal charm +1. The more he thought about it, the more plausible it seemed. He remembered his father's thick leather belt with a shudder. And his parents had always blatantly favored Khloe. She might have a point. Suddenly, Asher was questioning his own identity. Shocking. The villainous young master was an orphan all along. You idiot. That's not what I meant. Khloe's face flushed crimson. Asher's overactive imagination was running wild again. It was clear words weren't going to work. She had to take action. She reached for his collar. From Asher's perspective, her short arms extended towards him, then stopped, dangling uselessly in midair. She couldn't reach. Asher breathed a sigh of relief. Before he could finish, Khloe jumped, grabbing his shirt collar and pulling herself up to meet his lips. A soft, warm sensation. Asher's mind went blank. What the hell is happening? As if that weren't enough to short-circuit his entire brain, she seemed to be going for a full-on French kiss. Oh, you got to be kidding me, he thought, instinctively trying to pull back. But Khloe wasn't letting go. She might look delicate, but she had a grip like a vice. Asher's Iron Mantle skill was great for defense, but it didn't do much for his raw strength. Khloe, on the other hand, had clearly put all her skill points into strength and other areas. Her own mind was a whirlwind. 2 lifetimes of pent-up emotion erupted in that single moment. She had lost him once. She would not lose him again. She held on tighter. Asher, meanwhile, was suffering. The combination of shock and oxygen deprivation was making his face turn purple. What had he ever done to deserve this? He flailed, tried to tap her on the shoulder. Use your words, Khloe. This is insane. Are you trying to get us both disowned? In the struggle, his hand accidentally brushed against something, a natural wonder, entirely different from anything artificial. It was nice, but niceness was irrelevant when his life was flashing before his eyes. They were on the main staircase. Someone could walk by at any second. They would be so screwed. He tried to speak, but only muffled sounds came out. Seeing this, Khloe's eyes lit up. If he talked, the game was over. They remained locked in their bizarre struggle. Asher was beginning to despair when a calm voice cut through the air from behind them. What are you two doing? The voice was like a bucket of ice water. Asher's thought, I'm dead. Khloe's thought, damn it. Who dares interrupt me? They both turned, hearts pounding, to face the source of the voice. It was Asher who felt the most terror. His legs were shaking. If not for the system's best actor, Buff, keeping his expression in check, he'd be a picture of pure panic. When they saw who it was, the tension eased slightly, only to be replaced by a different kind of dread. Morning, Anya. Khloe chirped, waving a small hand as if nothing was wrong. The only thing betraying her act was the thin, silvery strand of saliva connecting her lips to Asher's. Morning, Anya. Asher managed his mouth dry. The protagonist's right-hand woman had just caught him, the villain, in a compromising position with his own sister. She was going to kill him. Factional loyalties aside, being caught like this by the Dragon Queen was social suicide. It wasn't his fault, but that hardly mattered. I asked. Anya repeated, her face an emotionless mask, what you were doing. Asher's mind raced, searching for a plausible excuse. Khloe beat him to it. It's a friendly greeting custom from a foreign country. Anya blinked, tilting her head slightly. She'd been to many countries on missions. She'd never heard of this particular custom. Asher's heart hammered against his ribs. Khloe, thinking her excuse was brilliant, at least for someone as socially oblivious as Anya, suddenly realized her mistake. Asher's inner monologue was about to start, and they would be exposed all over again. She squeezed her eyes shut, bracing for impact. But a few seconds passed, and there was nothing. No inner voice. She peeked at Asher and gave him an appreciative look. He was getting better at controlling his inner drama. In reality, Asher's mind was screaming, but thanks to a recent system update that filtered out non-plot relevant thoughts, no one else could hear it. He, of course, had no idea. Anya's gaze shifted between the two of them. After a long moment, she nodded. Then she looked at Asher. Okay, she said, her expression unchanged. Let's do the friendly greeting. Asher and Khloe stared, horrified. This was a nightmare. Asher, thinking fast, blurted out, I haven't brushed my teeth. Oh, Anya said, I don't mind. Asher. Khloe. He'd miscalculated. So this was the real Dragon Queen. A tidal wave of panic washed over Asher. Her taste was unique. Even he was freaked out. After a long, awkward silence, he finally managed to squeak, Are you serious? Anya just stared at him, her silence a clear answer. This woman is terrifying, Asher thought. She nearly witnessed my suffocation, and she wants a repeat performance? He decided then, and there he was moving out. He'd ask his father for a few $100 million and disappear. It was time for this young master to strike out on his own. Sorry, Anya, Khloe chimed in, smiling sweetly. That greeting is strictly for family members only. Family? The word hung in the air. Well, once we're married, we'll be family, right? Khloe thought. Her logic was flawless. Both Asher and Anya paused. Anya looked annoyed by the rule. Asher looked impressed by the loophole. Anya tilted her head. Can we break the rule? Asher and Khloe jumped. No, Khloe said, shaking her head vigorously. That would be extremely disrespectful. Anya glanced at Asher with a hint of disappointment. Just then, Eleanor Vance's voice echoed up the stairs. Are you two ever coming down for breakfast? How long am I going to have to wait on you? The sound of his mother's voice sent a fresh jolt of terror through Asher and Khloe. Coming, Asher yelled, seizing the opportunity to escape. He scrambled down the stairs, with Khloe and Anya following close behind. As he passed his mother, she suddenly said, Hold on a minute, Khloe. Khloe's body went rigid. She turned her head stiffly. What is it, Mom? Now was not the time for a confrontation with her parents. Her priority was locking down Asher before he was stolen from her. But her parents, she was afraid the shock would be too much for their hearts. Then again, Eleanor hadn't seen anything. Why was she stopping her? Your mouth, Eleanor said with a touch of exasperation. Huh, Khloe gasped. Oh God, she saw. She knows everything. She thought back. No, impossible. There's no way. Mom, you know, she stammered. Know what? Eleanor asked, pulling a handkerchief from her pocket. About. Khloe watched the handkerchief get closer and closer to her face. Honestly, child, it's bad enough you drool in your sleep, but to come downstairs without even washing your face? Is that any way for a young lady to behave? Eleanor grumbled, gently dabbing at the corner of Khloe's mouth. Oh, just drool. That wasn't so bad, except it was. Mortified, Khloe just nodded meekly, too embarrassed to speak. Thank God Asher was already at the table. If he'd seen this, she would have had to kiss him again, just to get even. After all, it was his fault. Practice makes perfect. She found the whole experience was surprisingly thrilling. So that's what first kiss felt like. Her mood instantly brightened. During breakfast, Asher deliberately avoided looking at the crazy girl. That was too close a call, with a one-way trip to the family blacklist. Heroines were truly a different breed. Khloe, however, was perfectly composed. Anya wasn't a gossip, so she had nothing to fear. In fact, the experience seemed to have awakened something new in her. Lawrence and Eleanor Vance didn't notice anything amiss. Their children bickering was just another Tuesday. After breakfast, Asher practically dragged Anya out of the villa and sped toward the office. He didn't dwell on Khloe's not-related comment. Some ideas were too ingrained to be uprooted by a few words. He figured she was just acting out after some trouble overseas. He, the ever-unlucky schmuck, was just her designated punching bag. Thank God for Anya's timing. If his mother had come up the stairs a minute earlier, there would have been no explaining their way out of that. He glanced over at the passenger seat. Anya was staring at him. Do you want the friendly greeting now? She asked. Ahem. Khloe said there are rules. Oh. Anya nodded slowly. Asher thought he was in the clear, but then she added, rules are made to be broken. This is going to be the death of me. Asher's hands trembled on the steering wheel, nearly sending the car veering off the road. The Dragon Queen had been corrupted. He had to move out. Today. Back in the general manager's office at Vance Corporation, Asher stared at the top 5 trending topics on TikTok, lost in thought. Hashtag Young Heiress proposes. Jessica Young asks Vance Corp's Asher Vance to marry her. Hashtag Vance Visionary. Asher Vance revealed as secret creator of volcanic clay beauty formula. Hashtag Billion Dollar Bride. Jessica Young offers Asher Vance 70% of profits as foundation for marriage. Hashtag Childhood Sweethearts. Insiders claim Jessica Young and national husband Asher Vance have history. Hashtag Sold Out. Volcanic clay beauty product sells out nationwide in under 30 minutes. He genuinely did not want to be trending. Now the whole world knew about the proposal. It was inevitable, he supposed. The Yangs weren't exactly a low-profile family. Was 70% of the profits from a blockbuster product tempting? Absolutely. But he didn't want the heroine's money. His phone rang. It was his father, Lawrence Vance. What the hell are you playing at this time, you little punk? Asher's voice was laced with guilt. Nothing, Dad. It's nothing. Nothing? His father roared. It's all over the news. I walked into the office this morning and got ambushed by half the board congratulating me on what a catch you are. They said you had the young girl wrapped around your little finger, and then they had the nerve to ask me when the wedding was. What am I supposed to tell them? Asher flushed. Maybe. Don't tell them anything. Are you trying to give me an aneurysm? You clean up this mess with the Yangs. And not just them. I've got Richard Joe on my other line asking what's going on. I'm too embarrassed to even talk to them. His father took a breath. You have 2 days. If this isn't resolved, you're fired. And I'm telling you now, Scarlet Zhao is the daughter-in-law your mother, and I have chosen for you. If you dare do anything to hurt that girl, I will personally break both your legs. Asher swallowed hard. Can you just break my arm instead? No. Lawrence shot back. Dad, I need some money. Money for what? I've been thinking. I can't be a deadbeat heir who just mooches off the family forever. I want to take $1 billion or $2 billion and start my own company. In your dreams. Okay, not $1 billion. How about a few $100 million? Kid, stop messing around and clean up your mess. After that, your mother and I don't care what you take. Asher was speechless. If he could clean up this mess, he wouldn't need money to run away. His father was delusional. 70, 80 million, Asher said through gritted teeth. That's the bare minimum. Any less, and your son will starve on the streets. The line went dead. Asher stared at the phone. Cold. So cold. So it's true, he muttered, his heart aching. I really am adopted. You need money, Anya asked, looking up from the fairy tale book she was reading. Desperately, Asher said without thinking. The Dragon Queen closed her book. Oh, how much do you need? Asher blinked. This felt surreal. Was the heroine offering to be his sugar mama? He was the villain. What would the protagonist think? He cleared his throat, testing the waters. Anya, just out of curiosity, how much do you have in your little slush fund? He was just being nosy, but Anya took him seriously. She began counting on her fingers, her expression intense. After a moment, her eyes lit up. She pulled out her phone, opened her banking app, and handed it to him. Asher sucked in a sharp breath. Wow, Anya, you're very direct. He took the phone. His eyes widened at the string of zeros. 1, 2, 3. He lost count. He tapped the screen to format the numbers. $2, 672, 000, 000. 00. Even Asher, who had grown up surrounded by wealth, was stunned. The Vance family fortune was massive, but that was a corporate empire. This was one person's private account. This wasn't a slush fund. It was a national treasury. Shocking. The world's #1 assassin is secretly a multi-billionaire. His first thought was, I've hit the jackpot. Anya, I have a multi-million-dollar project I'm working on. Your money is just sitting in the bank earning pennies. Invest with me, and I'll make it grow exponentially. What do you say? Okay, she said without a moment's hesitation. Her instant agreement threw him off. She wasn't any fun. A normal person would at least ask for a business plan. Asher coughed, dropping the playful act. He handed the phone back to her. I was just kidding. Anya stared at the phone he was offering, but didn't take it. Kidding. Asher rubbed his nose and pushed the phone back in her hand. Yes. Here, take it. And don't show that to just anyone. You'll get robbed blind. Anya tilted her head. Are you just anyone? This woman was infuriating. I meant strangers. Okay. She nodded, as if she understood. So, do you still need money? Nope. I'm good, Asher said quickly, desperate to change the subject before she said something else completely insane. He had his own savings, about $1 billion, stashed away. It was originally meant to be a nest egg for his parents after the Vance Corporation went bankrupt and Leo Flynn killed him. But now, he'd have to dip into it. Making money was easy for him. He could turn that billion into 10 billion in no time. If he wasn't so damn lazy. Well, I should probably prepare a few viable business proposals, he mused. Maybe Mom and Dad can use them someday. He had no intention of going back to the villa and explaining things to the Young family. That wasn't walking into the lion's den. It was walking right into Jessica's trap. As appealing as that sounded on some level, he just wanted to be a quiet, emotionless plot device. His phone buzzed. He glanced at the caller ID, and a genuine smile broke across his face, washing away his troubles. He answered the call. Riley? What's up? Asher, I don't have any classes today. Does your offer to go to Disneyland still stand? Of course it does, you little rascal. Would I lie to you? Hee. I know you wouldn't. You always keep your word. Where are you? I can meet you. I'm at school. Okay, I'll come pick you up. He hung up and stood. The GM position wasn't for him. If Khloe wanted it, she could have it. A life of leisure and a good massage. That was his calling. Where are you going? Anya asked, blinking. In a girls' dorm room at Columbia University. The chatter was frantic. Ugh, when is the volcanic clay stuff going to be back in stock? Don't even talk about it, Maya. It's hopeless. It sold out in 30 minutes, and the website crashed. Normal people like us never stood a chance, Shannon lamented. Meanwhile, Riley Song was quietly getting ready, applying makeup in front of a small mirror. Her technique was clumsy and unpracticed. Soon, Maya and Shannon noticed her unusual activity. They exchanged a knowing glance and broke into grins. Ooh, look at our baby Riley, getting all dolled up for a hot date. You're not doing that right, sweetie. Here, let us help. Riley flinched. I am not meeting anyone special. Shannon rolled her eyes. Oh, please. You're meeting national husband Asher Vance. Did you forget? Maya nodded sagely. Such a fickle woman. A moment of silence for Mr. Vance's heart. You guys are the worst. Riley's face turned bright red. Don't be mad, baby, Shannon cooed. Come on, we'll give you a makeover. Shannon's right, Maya said, grabbing an eyeliner pencil. Riley's makeup kit was a mismatched collection of cheap drugstore brands. The two roommates shared a look of pity and were about to grab their own high-end supplies when Riley stopped them. This is fine, she insisted. They shrugged. Okay. In truth, as the freshman class beauty, Riley's natural looks were stunning. A little brow shaping and a touch of eyeliner were all she needed. After a light dusting of foundation, she was a certified knockout. Staring at the result, her roommates felt a pang of cosmic injustice. Still gorgeous, baby. Shannon, the important thing. Maya prompted. Shannon cleared her throat. So, Riley, baby, you know about the volcanic clay beauty stuff, right? Riley looked at them, confused. The new product from Yang's? It's all over the news. What about it? Shannon beamed. When you see Mr. Vance, ask him if he can get us a few jars. We'll pay him back, of course. Maya slapped her arm. Shannon, you idiot. Like he needs our money. Riley's face grew even redder. I'm not even sure I'm seeing him. Her voice was barely a whisper, completely unconvincing. Shannon grabbed her hand dramatically. Riley, baby, you can't do this to us. She's right, Maya added, her face a mask of tragedy. You're naturally beautiful. You don't need it. We do. Their theatrics wore her down. Riley reluctantly agreed, though she made no promises. She had no idea if Asher could or would help. Maya and Shannon squealed with delight. Just then, a voice called from the doorway. Is Sonyuchi here? The girl's English was heavily accented, but understandable. Shannon paused. A foreign exchange student? I am, Riley said, walking to the door. The student, seeing the other girls in the room, lowered her voice. Your brother's name is Song Ligong, right? He sent me. We can't talk here. Riley's expression turned to one of shock and excitement. She gripped the girl's shoulders. Are you serious? The student nodded. Without a second thought, Riley turned to her stunned roommates. I have to go out for a bit. She followed the student into the hallway. Who are you? How do you know my brother? Where is he? Why hasn't he been answering my messages? The questions tumbled out of Riley in a frantic rush. The Korean exchange student, Jong-ah Lee, averted her gaze. Your brother is being tracked by some dangerous people. He's safe now, but he can't contact you. Then where is he? Riley pressed, reaching for her again. Jong-ah dodged her grasp. You're hurting me. Oh, sorry. Please, just tell me where he is. North Avenue and West Street, the second traffic light, Jong-ah said. Riley calmed down slightly, a seed of doubt planting itself in her mind. The girl's story had holes. She was being evasive. How do you know my brother? As if expecting the question, Jong-ah pulled out her phone and showed Riley a photo of a large, muscular man. He looked vastly different from the brother she remembered from her childhood, but she recognized him instantly. A wave of emotion washed over her, and her eyes welled up with tears. If he was really on the run, then his silence made sense. It all clicked into place. In her emotional state, she overlooked the other inconsistencies in Jong-ah's story. Thank you so much, she said, her voice choked with gratitude. What's your name? Lee. Jong-ah, the girl replied, looking uncomfortable. Riley thanked her again and hurried away. As Jong-ah watched her go, she muttered to herself, I hope they don't do anything too terrible to her. The person who had asked for her help was a childhood friend from Korea, a guy who ran with a rough crowd, but wasn't, she hoped, truly evil. Riley didn't go back to her room. She ran straight for the university gates, pulling out her phone. She had enough money in her account for a cab. North Avenue and West Street. Please, she told the driver, jumping into the back of a taxi. Not long after, Asher pulled his Bentley up to the campus entrance. Anya was in the passenger seat. He had tried everything to leave her behind, even telling his secretary, Jasmine, to take Anya on a shopping spree, to a bookstore, whatever she wanted, all on the company dime. But Anya had refused. She insisted on coming with him. What would he do? He waited for a while, but Riley didn't appear. He sent her a text. A few minutes later, a reply came back. Riley, I'm so sorry, Asher. Something important came up. I have to go. Maybe another time. He stared at the message, a familiar sting of rejection pricking at him. Why do I feel like I'm the backup plan? He muttered to himself. At the Vance-owned electronics and appliance superstore, the air was thick with the smell of cardboard and styrofoam. All right, Stone, once we unload this last truck, we can take a break, a fellow employee said, panting heavily. Victor Stone nodded. The massive refrigerators and washing machines that took 2 men to lift, he handled by himself with ease. You get the small stuff. I'll take care of the heavy lifting. The employee's face lit up. You got it, man. Lunch is on me today. Chicken leg special. Just as they were finishing up, Victor's phone buzzed. His expression tightened. I gotta take this, he told his colleague. Go for it, man. Victor walked to a quiet corner and answered. Yeah. Victor Stone. We've been looking for you. Pretty bold of you not to even change your name. Victor's first instinct was to hang up. The voice on the other end anticipated it. If you hang up this phone, you'll be collecting your sister's body tomorrow. A pause, then the sound of a terrified whimper. Big brother. Don't worry about me. A woman's muffled sobs followed the man's threat. It was Riley. Victor's heart seized. What proof do you have that's my sister and not some actress you hired? He growled into the phone. Ha ha. I thought you were fearless, Victor. So you do have a weakness after all. Give me proof or I'm hanging up. Check your phone. I just sent you a picture. You might want to turn off your spam filter. Victor did as he was told. A photo appeared on his screen. It was Riley, tied to a chair, her face pale with terror, but her eyes defiant, trying not to cry. You bastards. Victor roared, his face contorting with rage. His family was his one line in the sand. He'd avoided contacting Riley precisely to prevent this from ever happening. We're just doing a job, the man said mockingly. You're the one who pissed off the wrong people. Name your price. A life for a life. Leave my family out of this. Where are you? I'll come to you. Let her go. Ha! You don't seem to understand your position, Victor. You're not in any condition to be making deals. Victor's face darkened. What do you want? Come alone. No tricks. Your little sister is quite a looker. The only reason my boys haven't had a taste yet is because I'm holding them back. You understand? Fine. I get it. Just give me the address. The hulking giant's voice had shrunk, all the fight gone out of it. He was a lamb to the slaughter. After he hung up, a cold dread settled over him. This was a death trap. He could die. That was fine. But Riley and his mother were innocent. He knew these types. They wouldn't let his sister go. He shouldn't have come back. He should have died overseas. The weight of his guilt was crushing. Then, a flicker of a memory. A face. Would she help me? Victor Stone was built like a bull, but his mind was sharp. He had to try. It was his only shot. He dialed a number Khloe Vance had given him during a recent store inspection. She'd told him he was bodyguard material and had tried to recruit him. He'd refused then, but now he was out of options. The phone picked up. Khloe's voice, calm and even, came through. What is it? Ms. Vance, my name is Victor Stone. I need to ask you for a favor. If you can help me, my life is yours. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do it. His voice was low, humble, and desperate. On the other end, Khloe's hand trembled. She could barely contain her excitement. Not only had she finally gotten her first kiss from Asher, but now she was about to recruit one of Leo Flynn's future top lieutenants. With Victor Stone on her side, Leo was as good as dead, but she knew that whatever had brought a man like Victor to his knees had to be serious. Okay, she said, her voice steady. Tell me what you need. Victor quickly explained the situation, not holding back any details about his past. With Riley's life on the line, he couldn't afford to gamble. When he was done, he pleaded, Ms. Vance, I don't expect to make it out of this alive. Just please get my sister out safely. I'll be forever in your debt. Don't talk like that. You're not dying today. Khloe's voice cut in, firm and resolute. I'm saving both of you. They quickly formulated a plan. Victor gave her the location. The men holding Riley had made a fatal miscalculation. They'd never imagined that a hardened mercenary on the run would have a connection to one of the most powerful families in New York. Calling the police was suicide, but calling Khloe Vance? That was a whole different story. After hanging up, Khloe frowned. The situation was tricky. They had a hostage. A large force would be spotted immediately. She decided to take only 5 of her best people, a small, elite team she had personally recruited. But even that felt risky. She made another call. A tinny, ridiculously cheerful song began to play from Anya's phone. Baby Shark, do-do-do-do-do-do. The ringtone played on and on. The phone's owner seemed oblivious. Asher's eye twitched. Anya, your phone is ringing. Oh, someone is calling me. No, they're calling me on your phone, he deadpanned. Anya finally stopped enjoying the music and answered. Hello. Anya, Khloe's voice said urgently. I need your help. Inside a derelict, unfinished building in a forgotten corner of the Bronx, the air was thick with tension. Boss, do we really need all this security? We have the upper hand. One of the Korean men grumbled. Aish, don't ask such stupid questions, snapped the leader, a heavy-set man with a face crisscrossed by scars. Until Victor Stone is dead or in chains, we don't let our guard down for a second. His name was Kim Dong-hee, the head of a third-rate international bounty hunter crew. He was known for his brutality, a reputation that had earned him the self-proclaimed and deeply ironic title, God. It was a name that could scare off smaller fish, but against any real players, he knew he was just a bully. Boss, the 2 snipers are in position. another crew member reported. The moment Stone makes a wrong move, they'll take him out. A greasy smile spread across Kim's face. He grabbed the man's ear and twisted, his expression turning ugly. I want him alive. Alive. Do you understand? Ah, the man screamed in pain. I get it, boss. Alive. We'll aim for his limbs, disable him. And do you know why I want him alive? Kim snarled. Because alive, Victor Stone is worth $500 million. Dead, he's only worth $100 million. And you were still going to kill him. Smack. Kim backhanded the man across the face, sending him sprawling. Use your brain. This is our last big score. After this, we retire. I want every last dollar of that $500 million. Don't kill him unless you have absolutely no other choice. Got it. Got it. The man stammered from the floor. There were 7 of them in total. 2 snipers hidden in the shadows, and 5 on the floor, armed with custom-built firearms that were just as deadly as anything factory-made. The man who'd been hit climbed to his feet, his eyes burning with a mixture of anger and greed. He turned his gaze to Riley, who was tied to a chair in the corner. She was pale and trembling, a picture of vulnerability that seemed to ignite something vicious in him. Boss, he said, wiping a trickle of blood from his lip. After we bag Stone, can the boys have a little fun with his sister? Kim glanced at Riley. She was pretty. Excellent figure. He looked at his other men. They all had the same hungry, wolfish expressions. Fine, he grunted. Do your jobs right, and she's all yours. But I want Victor Stone alive. That's the only rule. You got it, boss, the man said, his grin widening. Riley didn't understand Korean, but she understood the leering looks and predatory smiles. They're going to do terrible things to her. A profound despair settled over her. If she didn't know Victor was coming, she would have ended her own life already. She would rather die than be defiled by these monsters. But she couldn't die yet. Not until Victor was safe. Her eyes hardened with resolve. When the time came, she would not hesitate. Asher, I guess we'll never get to see each other again, she thought, tears silently streaming down her face. I really want to go to Disneyland with you. I wonder if you'll ever think of me after I'm gone. Even just once in a lifetime would be enough. She was just a college student. She had never seen this kind of raw, terrifying violence. She was trapped in a whirlwind of regret, resentment, and hopelessness. In what she believed were her final moments, her first thought was not of her mother, but of him. After what felt like an eternity, a tall figure appeared at the far end of the floor. Boss, he's here. Instantly, the men snapped to attention. A giant man, nearly 7 feet tall, walked toward them. The ordinary appliance store worker was gone. In his place was the hardened mercenary king, his aura radiating lethal intent. For a moment, even Kim and his men were intimidated. After confirming Victor was alone and unarmed, Kim's confidence returned. Ha ha ha, you've been hiding well, Victor, but your luck just ran out. Where's my sister? Victor's voice was a low growl. The little thing? She's right here, sneered the man who'd been slapped earlier. Victor's gaze met Riley's. She started to struggle violently against her restraints, the chair creaking under the strain. Muffled sounds came from behind the gag in her mouth as she shook her head frantically, trying to warn him to run. Aish, move again, and I'll put a bullet in your head. Kim yelled, pressing the muzzle of his handgun against Riley's temple. But Riley didn't stop. She wasn't stupid. She'd seen the snipers leave. They were out there, waiting. Only one of them could make it out of this today, and it wasn't going to be her. Calm down, Riley. It's going to be okay, Victor shouted, trying to steady her. He couldn't afford for her to panic now. His only hope rested on the powerful ally Khloe Vance had promised him. It was a long shot, but it was all he had. If he could just save Riley, he prayed, my life is yours. Even with Victor walking into the trap alone, Kim Dong, he wasn't taking any chances. Stop right there, Stone. See the 2 little red dots on your body? I don't need to tell you what they mean. Victor's expression tightened. He glanced down and saw the telltale crimson glints of laser sights on his arm and leg. This wasn't a movie. These men weren't idiots. A new layer of insurance. Now, even if he sprouted wings, he was trapped. You two, go hit him with the tranquilizer. A double dose. Kim ordered 2 of his men. You son of a bitch. Victor roared. I did what you said. What more do you want? The 2 men hesitated, looking to their boss. Kim laughed coldly. What do I want? I want you completely helpless. I'll surrender unconditionally, Victor yelled, his neck muscles straining. Just let my sister go first. You're not in a position to negotiate. Yes, I am. Victor countered, his voice dropping to a dangerous low. You want me alive? If I die, your payday gets a lot smaller. Kim and his men exchanged glances. He had a point. The difference was $400 million. That was more money than all of them had ever seen in their lives. Kim's beady eyes darted back and forth. He made a decision. Fine, as you wish. Jinho, untie the girl. The man named Jinho, the one with the leering eyes, looked deeply disappointed. Kim shot him a glare and a subtle, coded glance. Hurry up. Jinho understood. He quickly untied Riley, then shoved a gun in her back. Get up. It's okay, Riley. I'm here, Victor said, his voice a pillar of strength. His words seemed to steady her. You stay back. Victor barked at Jinho, who was following Riley with his pistol drawn. Jinho shrugged. And what if you two decide to make a run for it? It was an empty threat. With 2 snipers trained on them, escape was impossible. I'll come to you, Victor said, putting his hands on his head and walking in the opposite direction from Riley, using his massive frame to shield her. The 2 siblings shared a final, tearful look. Jinho froze. He hadn't expected Victor to trade his life so readily. But it didn't matter. Riley couldn't escape. The snipers would just put a bullet in her leg. As they passed each other, Victor whispered, Run. No matter what you hear, don't look back. Get him with the tranquilizer. Now, Kim yelled. 2 men rushed Victor, each with a large syringe. He closed his eyes, accepting his fate. The needles plunged into his skin, delivering a dose strong enough to take down a grizzly bear. He fought it for a few seconds, his body swaying like a drunkard, before crashing to the floor with a heavy thud. He wasn't unconscious, not yet, but he was immobilized. Kim and his men let out a collective gasp of awe and relief. Aish, no wonder the bounty on this guy is so high. Tie him up, Kim commanded. Jinho turned to his boss. The girl. She's all yours. Do whatever you want, Kim said with a dismissive wave. A wicked grin spread across Jinho's face. He spoke into his headset. Snipers, don't let the girl get away. Take the shot. I don't care if she's alive or dead. Laughter erupted from his comrades. Thump, thump. 2 dull impacts sounded from outside, almost simultaneously. They were followed by a man's voice, amplified and sudden. Nobody move. This is a robbery. The voice was so unexpected and loud that it completely overshadowed the sound of the falling bodies outside. Every head in the room snapped toward the source. No one noticed that the 2 red laser dots had vanished. Asher Vance stepped out of the shadows, a black handgun with a laser sight held steady in his right hand. A single, bright red dot appeared in the center of Kim Dong-hee's forehead. The men's faces went pale. Friend, what's the meaning of this? This isn't how you play the game. Friend, what crew are you with? A hostile takeover. That's against the rules, isn't it? Kim Dong-hee's face darkened. Hadn't that musclehead Victor Stone sworn he didn't call for backup? Then who the hell was this guy? But from the sound of it, he wasn't here to help. He sounded like he was here to cause trouble. The other mercenaries looked grim. They'd been in the bounty hunting game for years and had never run into a cowboy this reckless. They had snipers. From 800 yards out, they could put a bullet through this guy's head at any moment. And he still dared to step out? Was he suicidal? If it weren't for the red laser dot dancing on Kim Dong-hee's forehead, they would have opened fire on Asher already. But for now, they could wait. Let him get a little closer, move away from his cover. Then their snipers could take him out with ease. Rules? Asher let out a low laugh. You're talking to me about rules? His eyes glinted with a chilling light, projecting the aura of a man who moved mountains and commanded armies. I'm the goddamn rules. The full force of his villainous persona was unleashed. Gone was the usual unassuming mask he wore. This was pure, unadulterated dominance. The textbook image of a villain in his prime. A-list performance. So cool it hurt. In reality, it was all an act. As everyone knew, Asher was a seasoned actor. He could summon any aura, any temperament at will. But beneath the powerful exterior was a different story. His legs were trembling just slightly. After all, the piece in his hand was a fake, a water pistol he'd bought on the way over to bluff his way through. The Dragon Queen, Anya, had warned him it was too dangerous, that he shouldn't take the risk. But Asher hadn't listened, because the system had issued a mission: achieve mastery of the Iron Mantle technique. The condition? Successfully rescue Victor Stone and his sister. He hadn't overthought it on the way here. With Anya watching his back, he knew he wouldn't die. Seriously, holding an ace like the Dragon Queen, did he really think a few low-level thugs could take him out? Not a chance. So, he'd come over in the mood to play. Khloe had called, said they needed to save someone, and handed out assignments. Due to a lack of information, Khloe didn't know Anya was with Asher. Then, Asher had unilaterally decided to take over the role of the decoy. Trying to explain the situation to his Yandra little sister would have been a massive headache. So that was that. Asher was here for 2 reasons: complete the mission and satisfy a sudden, overwhelming urge to mess with people. Okay, it was mostly for the mission. A mastered Iron Mantle was a passive skill. As long as an attack carried a certain level of threat, The technique would activate automatically, without him having to think about it. It was like a built-in, upgraded version of some B-movie unstoppable bodyguard power. Best of all, unlike some ancient disciplines, it didn't require celibacy, turn him into a golden statue, or cause his muscles to swell to grotesque proportions. A sweet deal. So here he was. Kim Dong-hee and his men sucked in a collective breath. They'd seen arrogant men, but never this arrogant. A murderous glint flashed in Kim Dong-hee's eyes, but he plastered on a politician's smile. Brother, this guy's life is worth $500 million. Including you. There are 6 of us. How about we split it? Asher had positioned himself perfectly, just out of the sniper's line of sight. Kim Dong-hee's plan was to lure him into the open. The rest of his crew had the same idea. They knew Asher was a dead man walking. It was just a question of how many more seconds he'd live. Since he was here to rob them, he had to be in the same line of work. If the guy had half a brain, he'd recognize the power disparity and choose to cooperate for a cut of the money. Just as the Korean crew thought they had it in the bag, Asher's reaction threw them for a loop. Holy crap, that guy's worth $500 million. Asher's jaw dropped. From his position, he could only see Victor Stone's back, a hulking, broad-shouldered man. He couldn't see his face, or he would have immediately understood the price tag. Is this guy an idiot? He doesn't recognize a walking $500 million payday? I don't know, but he's definitely got a few screws loose. Is he acting? He didn't seem like he was acting just now. I think he's genuinely clueless. Samita, we've run into a real lunatic. The men exchanged bewildered glances. No one had a clue what game Asher was playing. Kim Dong, he swallowed hard and asked tentatively, "You really don't know who this guy is?" He gestured toward Victor. Asher looked utterly baffled. Is he famous? Why should I know him? Shouldn't he know me? And you guys Kim Dong, shit, do we really find the one moron in New York? Jinho, can we call the cops on this guy? Just to get him out of here. Other members, did Bellevue run out of beds? How did they let this one escape? Seeing that Asher was genuinely clueless, Kim Dong-hee's expression turned uglier than a gargoyle. Then what are you doing here? He snapped. If he wasn't a rival operator, and he wasn't here to help Victor, what was the point of his appearance? I'm here to take a ahem. Damn it, didn't I already say it? Asher snapped back into his boss persona, salvaging the moment just before his mundane side took over. I'm here to rob you. Understand? This is a stick-up. Thank God for his Oscar-worthy acting skills. Slipping into character was second nature. Kim Dong, he suppressed his rage and forced another smile. Okay, mister. Robber, you want to rob us? Fine. Just step a little closer, and we'll give you all the money we have on us. You think I'm stupid? The guy you kidnapped is worth $500 million, remember? Asher said, annoyed. Kim Dong, he wanted to slap himself. Why the hell did he have to bring that up? Jinho lost his patience, feeling like he was being played. What the hell do you want? Just the money. Asher shrugged. Hey, fatso, tell your men to put their guns down. Otherwise, my hand might slip and we both die. You won't see a cent of that $500 million. Your men will split it all. All your years of hard work down the drain. Asher planted a small seed of psychological warfare, hoping to turn them against each other. It worked like a charm. $500 million was no small sum. At Kim Dong-hee's signal, his men lowered their weapons. All they needed was for Asher to take 2 or 3 steps forward, and the hidden sniper would solve the problem permanently. Friend, I did what you asked. How about you show some sincerity? Come over here and talk. Asher knew exactly what they were planning. A playful smile touched his lips. Me? Go over there. He let out a small chuckle. You might as well come over here yourself. You come here. Kim Dong-hee's face was a mask of frustration. Jinho couldn't take it anymore. Aish, what the hell do you want? Do you believe I'll kill you right now? Asher covered his mouth with his other hand, his face a perfect picture of fear, a masterful blend of real and fake. You're trying to out-crazy me? Even Anya humors me. Buddy, you are so screwed. He said it like he was commenting on the weather. The timing was about right. Playtime was over. Asher's expression turned serious. Splush. Everyone held their breath. Kim Dong-hee's eyes went wide, his breathing seemingly frozen in his chest. But the scene they all imagined, a head exploding like a watermelon, didn't happen. Asher's black pistol shot out a pathetic stream of water, which died mid-air a few feet in front of him. The bounty hunters stared, their faces a mixture of disbelief and fury, as if they'd just been collectively pranked by the universe. They scrambled to raise their guns. It all happened in a flash. Samita, you dare to fool me? Kill him. Kim Dong-hee's roar of fury echoed through the derelict space. His men didn't need the order. Black barrels were already rising. They expected Asher to turn and run after his little stunt, but he didn't move an inch. It all happened too fast, in the span of a few seconds. They didn't have time to wonder why he wasn't running. It was an irrelevant question. In the next instant, he'd be a corpse. Crack! Crack! Gunshots rang out. But what happened next was bizarre. The ones bleeding weren't Asher. It was their own men. Their minds went blank, buzzing with confusion. Did they miss? Was this a case of stormtrooper aim? A trained sniper, missing their target? Impossible. The truth was, the two snipers had been replaced moments ago. Finding them would have normally taken some effort, but Kim Dong, he had gotten careless. He'd exposed his hidden assets right from the start. His entire crew had walked into a trap. By letting Victor Stone enter the building, they had unwittingly provided a live feed. For most, sharing a visual perspective like that would be complicated. But for the Vances, it was nothing. Vance Corporation had its fingers in countless industries, including surveillance technology. And ever since Khloe's return, she had placed a special emphasis on this area, acquiring a stockpile of state-of-the-art pinhole cameras. These devices were embedded in Victor Stone's jacket, his pants, even his shoes, providing a full 360-degree, real-time view of the interior. Once that feed was transmitted outside, it was Anya's show. For one of the world's top assassins, locating a sniper's nest was child's play. Besides, Victor Stone was no fool. As the feed was transmitted, he would subtly tilt his body towards certain areas, using reverse psychology to help Anya pinpoint the sniper's hiding spots. Not that she needed the help. The two snipers were positioned in different locations, not far apart, allowing them to cover each other in an emergency. That meant they had to be taken out simultaneously. Anya was good, but she couldn't be in two places at once. Luckily, Khloe had brought help. But the moment the girl learned that her own brother had rushed in to be the decoy, she had exploded. She'd walked right up to the mercenary who was supposed to play the part and slapped him so hard his ears rang. The fierce little lowly was incandescent with rage. Anyone could get hurt. Victor Stone could even die. But Asher? Asher was off limits. So, she and Anya moved at the same time. While Asher held the enemy's attention, they made their move. The number of variables was staggering. Asher's timing had to be perfect. Khloe and Anya's coordination had to be flawless. And they had to silently approach two hidden professional snipers. The plans sounded simple, but the execution was incredibly difficult. Khloe had wanted to just charge in with the team and mow them all down. To hell with tactics and skill. That was for people on a budget. When you have money, you use overwhelming firepower. Just spray and pray until everyone inside was a puddle on the floor. As long as Asher was safe, who cared who else died? But Anya had stopped her. Only then did Khloe abandon the idea of a full frontal assault. Asher's actions were reckless, but thankfully, everything had gone off without a hitch. Khloe now held a sniper rifle, and after Anya had dealt with her target, she didn't linger. She sprinted toward the unfinished building where Asher was, a ghostly blur moving with such speed and silence, it was almost supernatural. It was a testament to an assassin's mastery of movement and body control. The kind of flexibility that made advanced yoga poses look like child's play. Back inside with Asher, the moment the gunshots rang out, his first thought was, I'm saved. The Dragon Queen is the GOAT. He hadn't stayed put to act cool. His leg muscles had suddenly cramped up, slowing his reaction by half a second. Fortunately, the snipers outside had already been replaced, and their shots came right on time. Kim Dong-hee's crew was standing in the open. They'd been so sure of their position. Two highly trained snipers, hidden, covering each other. How could they both be taken out at the same time? It was unthinkable. But the unthinkable had become reality. So, Kim Dong-hee and his men were completely stunned. One of the men had just raised his pistol toward Asher when the shots from outside echoed. His head exploded like a watermelon smashed with a baseball bat. The gory spectacle, a mist of red blooming in the air like a grotesque rose, was shockingly potent. Within seconds, the scene descended into chaos. Asher's leg cramp had just started to ease when he witnessed the gruesome display. His stomach churned, and a wave of nausea washed over him. His face went pale, but he managed to keep his expression neutral, maintaining the facade of a calm, unshakable crime lord who had seen it all. Kim Dong, he hadn't been pointing his gun at Asher, otherwise he would have been the first to die. But the man less than 2 feet from him was now headless, and the suddenness of it was terrifying. Forgetting Asher entirely, the remaining men scrambled for cover. In the process, 2 more were hit, collapsing with serious injuries, blood pooling around them. Jinho's eyes were bloodshot. After finding cover, he scanned for Asher. He didn't have to look far. Asher was still standing in the same spot, his face impassive, like a god of war who had seen 1,000 battles. Aish, you bastard, go to hell. Jinho roared. raising his pistol toward Asher's head. Asher remained as still as a mannequin, a perfect target. Jinho could already picture his head bursting open. But just as he raised his arm, a sound sliced through the air faster than his own movement. Thwip! A small, impossibly sharp knife embedded itself in the hand holding the gun. The razor-sharp tip pierced straight through his palm. Clang! The pistol fell to the floor, followed by a pain-filled scream that was a fraction of a second too late. Arg! Jinho clutched his bleeding right hand, shouting a warning to his comrades through the agony. The bastard has help. As if on cue, a graceful figure vaulted through a shattered window, landing with fluid, efficient motion. Jinho, fighting through the pain, tried to grab the fallen gun. A powerful roundhouse kick met him instead, whistling through the air. The foot connected squarely with his face, sending him flying backward. He tumbled for several yards until his back slammed into a concrete wall, cracking it and creating a large crater. He was in bad shape. The impact had dislocated his jaw and left him momentarily stunned. Anya's brow furrowed. It was a subtle gesture, but it was enough to show she was in a very, very bad mood. Someone had dared to point a gun at the defenseless Asher. They were asking to die, not just because Asher was her employer, but because Anya had recently made a vow to herself. No one was allowed to harm the gentle Asher. Anyone who defied her would be shown no mercy. Jinho still had some life in him. Anya rushed forward and delivered another kick. Crack! The sickening sound of breaking bone echoed in the vast space. Jinho didn't even have time to let out a final scream. His head separated from his neck. He was dead. From a moment Anya entered to now, less than a minute had passed. Asher's mouth twitched. He felt a shiver of fear, offering the poor guy a silent 0.0001 second moment of mourning. He had no idea what that man had done to piss off the Dragon Queen, but she had made an example of him the second she arrived. A single, fluid motion, and the man was gone. There were no flashy moves, just pure, explosive power. It was a stark reminder for Asher. Those legs could literally kill a man. Anya's anger hadn't subsided. She glanced over at Asher, and seeing he was unharmed, her tense expression finally relaxed. She turned her attention to the others. Time to hunt. Her voice was as flat as ever, but this time it sent a bone-deep chill through everyone who heard it. The mercenaries had made two fatal mistakes. First, they had placed absolute trust in their snipers, neglecting to secure proper cover inside the building. They paid for that mistake dearly. As the saying goes, you made your bed, now lie in it. Second, they had pissed off Anya. And in Asher's opinion, that was the more critical error. The two men who had been shot earlier were quickly dispatched by Anya. She didn't even need a gun, just a few throwing knives. Honestly, Asher had no idea where she kept pulling them from, but it was impressive as hell. The world's #1 assassin, carrying a few extra blades for self-defense, was perfectly normal, he supposed. Only one was left alive. Kim Dong. The fat man was not in good shape. He'd taken a bullet in his left arm. He dragged the unconscious Victor Stone to his feet, using him as a human shield, and pressed the muzzle of his gun to the man's temple. Don't you come any closer. He was genuinely terrified. Who could have imagined that in a matter of minutes, the tables would turn so completely? They'd gone from a position of absolute advantage to this, especially since Anya's arrival. She was killing them like swatting flies, each move lethal, giving them no chance to react. Before they could even process what was happening, they were dead. Scared now, fatty? Asher's face was still a bit pale, but his voice was steady, dripping with the cool mockery of a seasoned villain. Kim Dong, he dragged Victor into a corner, a position that shielded him from the outside snipers and gave him leverage over Asher and Anya. If Asher hadn't been so far away, with a pillar blocking the shot, Kim Dong, he would have already put a bullet in his head. Shit, it was all because of that man. His sudden appearance had changed everything. Scared? I've been in this business for years. I don't even know how to spell the word. Kim Dong, he roared, his voice thick with rage. He had a hostage. These people were obviously here to rescue Victor Stone. As long as he had Victor, his own life was secure. Haha, impressive, Asher said with a genuine, if sarcastic laugh. He wondered if the fat man would piss his pants if Anya introduced herself as the world's top assassin. Friend, tell your people to stand down. Kim Dong, he negotiated. This $500 million bounty. I'll just take $100 million for my trouble. The rest is all yours. How about it? Escaping was a long shot. The snipers outside had been replaced, and Anya was blocking the way. He'd originally planned on a 50-50 split, but now he had to worry about his own skin. Gritting his teeth, he made what he considered his most generous offer. All the intel, all the surveillance. He'd invested a lot of money to track down Victor and his sister. 100 million was a fair finder's fee, right? But Asher just raised an eyebrow. I came all the way out here, and I only get 400 million. Kim Dong-hee's face contorted as if he were constipated. 400 million wasn't enough? Why don't you just take my life too, while you're at it? Don't be too greedy, young man. 400 million is a lot. Consider the 100 million fee for making a new friend in me, Kim Dong-hee. He assumed Asher's hesitation was because of the money. A dead Victor Stone was still worth something, but the price would drop significantly. Tell me, who's more important to me, Victor Stone or the money? Samita? Asher's tone was playful. The guy's constant use of Korean curses and his thick accent made his origins obvious. Kim Dong-hee's face darkened. He asked cautiously, so, Victor Stone is important to you? Nope. Guess again. The money is important to you? Not really. Aish, then it must be Victor Stone. Neither the money nor Victor Stone is important to me, Asher said, his voice dropping. But you not being here, that's very important to me. As he spoke, a sound sliced through the air. The moment the words left his mouth, Anya had acted. A dagger flew with incredible speed, embedding itself flawlessly in the center of Kim Dong-hee's forehead. The fat man's face was frozen in a mask of pre-death fury. His small eyes were wide with terror, as if, in his final moment, he had seen some prehistoric beast. The Dragon Queen was terrifyingly efficient. Sound localization was a beautiful thing. Asher knew Anya's capabilities. Otherwise, he wouldn't have wasted so much time talking. When you've mastered the art of listening, your hearing becomes more reliable than your sight. Ping. Congratulations, host. You have completed the rescue mission. Mission rating, S-Class. Reward acquired. Ancient martial arts discipline. Iron Mantle, Mastery. Ping. Critical bonus. Congratulations, host. You have acquired personal stamina, +5. Asher's lip twitched. At this rate, was he going to become a perpetual motion machine? Damn it, system. You're not even trying to be subtle anymore. Rage aside, a fully master martial arts discipline was a damn fine prize. Wait, what was that guy's name again? Anya. What's the name of that big guy we just saved? Asher asked casually. Anya. What's the name of that big guy we just saved? Asher asked casually. Victor Stone, Anya replied, her tone flat as she confirmed the area was clear and walked over to him. Oh, Victor Stone, right? Asher wiped a bead of cold sweat from his brow. A second later, it was his turn for his eyes to go wide. Wait a damn minute. He's Victor Stone. A terrible premonition washed over him. His head started to buzz. He knew that name all too well. It was a classic trope in those Chosen One stories. The hero always stumbles upon a ridiculously skilled and loyal sidekick willing to die for him. And in the world of this novel, such a person did exist. It was one of the author's oldest tricks. Knowing who Victor Stone was and what his story was why Asher was reacting so strongly. Does he have a grudge against you? I can take care of him for you, Anya said calmly, her tone giving nothing away. But Asher knew if he nodded, she would eliminate Victor without a second thought. Anya, can you please stop talking about killing people all the time? It's not very ladylike, Asher said, exasperated. Yes, the Dragon Queen was a professional assassin, and yes, he knew her identity. But did she have to be so blatant about it? Their official relationship was still just employer and bodyguard. They hadn't exactly come clean about their real roles, had they? If he were truly playing the part of a rich young master, would he keep a ticking time bomb like her by his side? He personally didn't mind, but his character's persona wouldn't allow it. Oh, Anya replied. Asher knew it was a lost cause. He dropped the subject and focused on the more pressing issue, Victor Stone. He had to confirm if this was the same Victor Stone he was thinking of. Steeling himself, Asher walked through the gruesome landscape of dismembered bodies, trying not to vomit. The ground was slick with blood, and the metallic stench was overpowering. At the end of the day, Asher was just a normal guy. The incident at the bar had been from a distance. Out of sight, out of mind. This was different. This was a front row seat. Anya paused, a little surprised. She hadn't expected Asher to be so composed. He wasn't afraid at all. She'd been thinking about carrying him across princess style, but it looked like she wouldn't get the chance. A flicker of disappointment crossed her mind, though Asher was too preoccupied to notice. As he got closer, his steps grew heavier. The sight of the man's broad back filled him with a growing sense of dread. The world can't be this small, can it? Asher started to panic, 1,000 strange thoughts flooding his mind. He reached the body and saw the man's face. Oh, hell no, 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 no. Victor Stone? How can it be Victor Stone? Asher's mind went blank. The shock was electric. He could no longer maintain his calm demeanor. He vaguely remembered a similar scene from the book, but it had been years. He was on the villain's script, walking the villain's path. He had enough trouble keeping his own story straight without memorizing every single moment of the hero's journey. Besides, he wasn't the only villain. He was the main antagonist, but there were countless minor bad guys for the protagonist to slap down along the way. If he tried to remember them all, his brain would explode. But back to reality. Who would have thought that by saving one person, he'd end up saving a key member of the protagonist's crew? What was the damn system trying to pull? Was it pushing him to take the hero's route? To leave the actual hero with nowhere to go? He was hit with a massive dose of tranquilizer. He needs to go to a hospital. Anya's voice came from behind him. Seeing Asher's terrified expression, she raised an eyebrow. Never mind. The hospital is too much trouble. Let me just take care of him for you. A sharp dagger materialized in her right hand. Asher hadn't even responded when a tearful female voice cried out, "Please, please don't kill my brother." With a flurry of hurried footsteps, Riley Song, her face streaked with tears and her eyes swollen, rushed to Victor's side. She knelt down, shielding him with her own small body, turning her back to the dagger in Anya's hand. Damn, that voice sounds familiar, Asher thought. When he saw who it was, his jaw dropped for the second time. How was Riley Song here? Riley. The back and the voice were a perfect match. He prayed it wasn't her. Please, not her. But the more he wished against it, the more reality seemed determined to shove it in his face. Riley looked up in his direction. Seeing Asher, she froze. Earlier, there had been a time delay between her going downstairs and Asher going up. Khloe's people had intercepted her and explained the situation, holding her back until things were resolved. She wanted to rush back and save Victor, but what could a freshman college student do? She'd only get in the way. Asher. Riley was stunned. Her chest rose and fell with her heavy breathing. Just moments ago, the young woman had been helpless, but now, seeing him, she saw a ray of hope. It was the feeling of a drowning person spotting a lifeline. Like a moth to a flame, she threw herself into his arms. The soft impact registered, but Asher was too busy processing to think about it. His mind was a complete blank. As for Anya, she silently retracted her dagger. She could tell Riley's emotions were genuine. So, for now, she decided to turn a blind eye to another woman hugging Asher. She walked over to the other bodies to retrieve her knives, giving the two of them some space. Asher looked like he'd seen a ghost, frozen in place as the crying girl clung to him. Her tears were of joy and relief this time, a release of 1,000 emotions. She thought she'd never see him again. Asher looked strong on the outside, but right now, he wanted to cry more than she did. But he couldn't. Riley, Victor Stone is your brother. Asher's expression was pained. It took him a long moment to force the words out. Riley nodded weakly, sniffling as she continued to cry. It's over, it's all over. I saved the wrong damn person. No, I shouldn't have saved him. Wait, I shouldn't have even come here. No, that's not it either. Am I supposed to be the protagonist now? Victor Stone? Riley Song? My God, what are the odds? After a few moments, Riley pulled away. Victor was still unconscious and needed help. Asher, my brother. He's gonna be okay, right? Okay. What'd be wrong with him? It's a tranquilizer, not poison. Your brother is built like 10 bulls stacked together. Of course, Asher didn't say any of that out loud. It's not a big deal. Just some tranquilizers. The Vance family medics are on their way. Okay. Asher, about today. I'm so sorry. That important person you mentioned. It was your brother. Asher's expression was complicated. Fearing a misunderstanding, Riley nodded quickly. Yes. She was still trembling slightly, looking so fragile it would make any man want to protect her. Asher knew what she was thinking, but he didn't call her on it. He had much bigger things to worry about than teenage crushes. Namely, he was trying to remember if Riley Song was one of the female leads he'd forgotten about. Victor Stone was connected to the protagonist. Riley was connected to Victor. It stood to reason she was connected to the protagonist, too. Asher racked his brain. This was his own damn fault. In his past life, to speed up the plot, he'd secretly helped the protagonist countless times. With the system's tacit approval, Asher had practically played with his cards face up, always making the worst possible moves. He'd manufactured opportunities to leak Vance Corporation secrets to Cassie Lee and created numerous openings for Anya to assassinate him. As a result, he had never even met Riley. His focus had been solely on his own scripted path. He couldn't have cared less about the protagonist's love life. So, naturally, he'd forgotten all about her. After another moment, a memory clicked into place. In that instant, he felt the world's infinite malice directed squarely at him. He remembered who Riley Song was. Just then, the sharp, rapid patter of footsteps approached. You idiot! Asher, A lowly-like voice filled with anger shouted, "Who told you to go and be the decoy? Do you have any idea how dangerous that was?" The little human cannonball, her short legs a blur, sprinted toward him. No one could figure out how she could run so fast with legs that short. Maybe it was just good technique. Asher raised an eyebrow. What did this little girl know? Dangerous? This was about a max-level ancient martial arts technique. If it wasn't for mastering Iron Mantle to reduce the number of beatings he'd have to endure later in the plot, he wouldn't have taken such a risk. He valued his life. Thank you very much. At least, until the story was over. Since when is it your job to manage me? Asher was already in a bad mood, and Khloe's scolding wasn't helping. Had the little brat forgotten her place? Just because her brain had short-circuited this morning and she'd done. That didn't mean he was going to drop his big brother authority. It is my job. You got a problem with that? Khloe's voice rose, her eyes turning red. Did he have any idea the amount of pressure she'd been under? Asher froze. Fine, fine, fine. You're the boss, whatever you say. Sigh. Riley, why did you have to betray me? Khloe is a female lead. You're a female lead. The whole world is acting against me. Do you know how hard my life is? Every single day, I have to figure out how to survive wedged between all you protagonists. This is too damn hard. Ping. Congratulations, host. You have received a cash reward of $6.66. Asher. Great. Now it wasn't just reality that was full of malice. The damn system was joining in on the fun. Female lead. Both Khloe and Riley's hearts skipped a beat. The former was all too familiar with the term. The latter was completely bewildered, hearing the word for the first time from Asher's inner voice. Mr. Vance? Miss Vance, the ambulance is here. Shall we carry him down now? One of the 5 men in black suits asked. They couldn't let the paramedics come up and see this horror show. They'd puke up last night's dinner. Khloe waved a dismissive hand. Go. After you get him to the hospital, come back and clean this up. Make sure it's spotless. You have full access to Vance Medical Center's resources. The men nodded. Victor Stone was built like a tank. It took 2 burly men just to lift him, so 4 of them carried him out together. Asher, I want to go take care of my brother, Riley said, looking for Victor's retreating form back to Asher. She wanted to stay and thank him, but she knew words were cheap. She had to accomplish something tangible. But first, she needed to wait for Victor to wake up. Asher forced a smile. Yeah, go on. Riley followed them out. Watching her leave, Asher felt as if he'd aged 10 years. My God, who knew his online friend was a female lead? He never would have guessed. Now it all made sense. Victor Stone did have a sister. It was one of the author's oldest, cheesiest plot devices. Give the protagonist a badass enforcer who would walk through fire for him. But that wasn't enough. In the early and middle stages of the story, Victor's skills were even better than Leo Flynn's. So, how do you make a guy like that completely loyal? Simple. You give him a beautiful younger sister back home. Not only are they best bros, but they'll be brothers-in-law. It's a win-win. The hero gets the girl and the badass sidekick. A sweet deal, right? Sweet for the protagonist, not for the guy holding Asher's script. As for how he'd gotten tangled up in this mess, he had the scheming little sister in front of him to thank for that. Asher's face hardened. When did you meet Victor Stone? An inside job. I knew it. Khloe, oh Khloe, you've really screwed me over. Is that massive favor for the villain? No, it's for the protagonist. Between me and Leo Flynn, who's the protagonist? I see you really don't get it. Wait, could this be a roundabout way to save the dragon? A strategic play? A strange idea popped into his head. The female lead helps the male lead's allies. Then, when the male lead needs it, she offers up her connections. That had to be it. Khloe rolled her eyes beautifully. Do you think this is the right place to talk? At his sister's reminder, Asher looked around. Ugh. No, it most certainly was not. The 3 of them went downstairs. After a few minutes, Asher finally regained his composure. Don't you want to know how I met Victor Stone? Khloe's voice was laced with mischief. Asher paused. He had a bad feeling she was up to no good. It was basic knowledge. After years of sparring with his little sister, he knew that tone of voice meant she was about to pull something. He knew, but he still needed to find out if she was actively recruiting for the protagonist. That knowledge was a lifeline for him. He was already working so hard to follow the script. How could things still be going wrong? It was the ultimate insult. I do, Asher nodded. Khloe extended a slender, pale index finger and crooked it at him. If you want to know, come closer. I'll whisper it to you. The scene felt vaguely familiar, but curiosity got the better of him, and he leaned in. Closer. Okay. Asher moved half an inch. Closer. MHM. I told you to get closer, didn't you hear me? Khloe snapped, planting her hands on her hips. Asher's patience wore thin. I'm doing what you said. What more do you want? Huh? You call this doing what I said? Khloe's eyelid twitched. They were still 6 feet apart. Asher nodded shamelessly. He'd have to be an idiot to actually get close. Anya's not an outsider. It's fine if she knows. A strange, soft sound escaped Anya's lips. Her beautiful face flushed with a barely perceptible hint of red. Neither Asher nor Khloe noticed the Dragon Queen's odd reaction. Khloe knew what Asher was thinking. Since he wouldn't come to her, she'd go to him. The little girl closed the distance in 2 quick strides, grabbed him by the collar, and pulled him down. Before Asher, completely baffled, could figure out what was happening, he heard Khloe's Barbie-pink lips whisper in his ear. You want to know? Fine. Kiss me like you did this morning. And I'll tell you everything I know. Hiss. Asher sucked in a sharp breath, his mind reeling. They were so close that her breath tickled his ear. But her words were explosive. Did she really dare to say something like that? Who did she think she was? The she-devil Scarlet? Oh, right, this one was the little she-devil. In that moment, Asher was brutally reminded of the fear he'd felt this morning, completely dominated by her. The little she-devil and the big she-devil were cut from the same cloth. Information versus a one-way ticket to a very awkward family Thanksgiving. To get the intel, he'd have to cross a line. Asher didn't want to choose either, but he had no choice at all. Choose. Choose my ass. And you're blushing? What in the world are you blushing about? Asher was speechless. This was the same as getting no answer at all. Asher did not agree to the little girl's request. He'd have to be possessed to agree to that. Their relationship was set in stone. No matter how beautiful his sister was, in her older brother's eyes, she would forever be an ugly little gremlin. Khloe's cheeks puffed out in dissatisfaction. The brother-sister barrier was deeply ingrained in Asher's mind. It would take more than a day or two to break it down. Even if Khloe told him the truth, he would just assume she was joking and wouldn't think anything more of it. This was her biggest frustration. It would be more practical to just stuff him in a bag, tie him up, and get the deed done, she thought. A paternity test would be pretty convincing. Asher had no idea his sister was entertaining such deranged thoughts. If he did, he would have already skipped town. But for now, he was fine. He planned on staying out all night, with no intention of going home. The conversation had hit a dead end. Since Asher couldn't get any information out of her, he decided to drop it. He was going to buy some oranges and take them to the hospital for Riley. Female lead status aside, he felt a visit was necessary. The girl had been through a lot today. She'd survived a nightmare, and her brother was still unconscious. She needed someone by her side. Just as Asher and Anya were about to drive off, Khloe followed them, declaring she was coming too. Victor Stone couldn't have anything happen to him, or all her carefully laid plans would be for nothing. Asher threw a line back at her. You want a car? Fine. Tell me how you and Victor Stone met. Khloe lifted her chin like a proud swan, crossing her arms in a clear not talking unless I get a kiss pose. Asher wasn't about to indulge her any further. Today was a kiss. What would be next time? Learning to eat candy from her friend Scarlet? No thanks. He hit the gas and drove off with Anya, leaving Khloe in the dust. The little she-devil was too dangerous. She was showing a disturbing tendency to become just like the big she-devil. Once their female lead personas broke, they all went bad. In the rearview mirror, Asher could see Khloe's face flushed with anger, stomping her foot in frustration. Her little tantrum was almost cute. When her figure finally disappeared, a triumphant smile spread across Asher's face. Heh, trying to outsmart your big brother? You're still too green. Maybe in your next life. From the passenger seat, Anya suddenly spoke. Asher, when you said I wasn't an outsider, did you mean it? Asher had no idea what the Dragon Queen was thinking, but his earlier statement wasn't wrong. She and Khloe were both female leads. Could a female lead be considered an outsider? If the two of them didn't team up, how would they ever take him down? So he answered instinctively, I meant it. Truer than true. A faint blush appeared on Anya's beautiful cheeks. She fiddled with her fingers, her voice still flat. So, does that mean I'm an insider? Asher was completely confused. The conversation felt strange. I guess so. To be honest, he had no idea how to answer her. The whole exchange made Anya seem endearingly simple. The world's #1 female assassin? This was her. How did she survive in her line of work? But in the next moment, he was forced to retract that thought. The title of world's #1 female assassin was well-deserved. Okay, since we're following the rules, I can use the friendly foreign greeting now, right? She said, turning to him. She opened her arms, as if asking for a hug. She didn't care that he was driving. She didn't care that they were on the road. Anya's thought process always managed to surprise him. A betrayal. A complete backstab. He was so cornered he didn't know how to respond. An insider isn't necessarily family. Wait, I guess it kind of is. Asher forced his eyes back to the windshield. We'll talk about this later. No. Anya replied instantly, without a second thought. She didn't press the issue, but Asher could tell she was completely serious. It was mind-boggling. All the women from the protagonist's circle were desperately throwing themselves at him. Asher felt like he was in another dimension. He quickly re-verified his identity in his head. Parents alive and well, so that ruled out the tragic orphan hero template. Family background was ridiculously powerful, born at the peak. That ruled out the rags to riches, lucky break after lucky break template. As for playing the fool to hide his strength, that was even less likely. Asher had no patience for such theatrics. If he had a problem with someone, he dealt with it head-on. Just bring a crew and get it done. When it came to a battle of dads, his old man, Lawrence Vance, was more than capable. He snapped back to reality. He was still the villain. Maybe a different flavor of villain, but a villain nonetheless. If you don't say anything, I'll take that as a yes. Anya's voice sounded again. Goosebumps erupted on Asher's skin. Good Lord. He didn't know who was teaching these female leads, but they were all becoming rotten to the core. They were almost at the hospital where there were people everywhere. Anya, in her innocent bubble, could completely ignore them without a shred of self-consciousness. But Asher couldn't. He needed to retreat. He'd come up with an excuse on the way back. Anya, we'll talk about this when we get back. So you agree? No. Am I not your insider? Ahem. Let's not use that word. If you have to say something, let's go with family. So the friendly greeting is okay now? Can we please drop this topic? Asher was about to lose his mind. He was discovering that communicating with the Dragon Queen was incredibly difficult. He was playing 4D chess, and she was playing checkers, moving in a straight line, completely oblivious to nuance. He pulled up to a fruit stand near the hospital. Just as he was about to get out, Anya's hand shot out, and he immediately abandoned any thought of escape. Once the Dragon Queen had you in her sights, there was no getting away. Fine, fine, you win. Tonight, okay? Asher said miserably, praying she would forget about it by then. As for tonight, he'd be long gone. There was no way she'd find him at the Vance mansion tonight. Anya's hand stopped, and she pulled it back. You said it, MHM. I said it, Asher replied, still not realizing the gravity of the situation. He mumbled a few more placating words before getting out of the car to buy fruit. Hey, watermelon? Sir, you guarantee this is ripe, right? The fruit stand owner was an honest man. He picked out a large, red watermelon for him, not some green dud, and even split it open right there to prove it. It was definitely ripe, a deep, vibrant red, but the sight of it made Asher's stomach turn. The image of the exploding head from earlier was far more potent. It was just a slight discomfort, though. He could handle it. He bought the watermelon and a few other expensive fruits, then left with his hands full. A short while later, Asher and Anya found Victor Stone's hospital room. The hospital was privately owned, but its backer was the colossal Vance family. Fueled by an endless supply of cash, the hospital had the best equipment, unlimited research funding, and could attract top talent by simply throwing money at them. As a result, even as a private institution, its reputation surpassed many famous public hospitals. All that investment paid off. With so many renowned doctors, the quality of care was superior, and treatment costs were only a third of what comparable hospitals charged. The Vance Medical Center was the first choice for many patients. As for Victor Stone, since Asher and Khloe had been the ones to call the ambulance, he was reaping the benefits. He was placed in the most luxurious private suite, attended to by the hospital's best physicians. It was a level of care that wealthy tycoons often had to wait 3 to 6 months for, but it was arranged for Victor instantly. All the paperwork was waived. Knock, knock. Riley Song frowned. The doctor and nurse had just left a few minutes ago. Who could be knocking now? Confused but not hesitant, she walked to the door. Coming. The door swung open, revealing a figure that surprised her. Asher, what are you doing here? Riley's eyes were still a little red, but she looked much better than before. Asher joked, not happy to see me? No, of course not. A smile bloomed on Riley's face. She stepped aside to let him in, but when she saw the bags of fruit in his and Anya's hands, she instinctively reached out to take them. Just come in. Your big brother Asher isn't too weak to carry some fruit. The girl insisted, so Asher sighed and handed her the lightest bag of peaches. The three of them entered the room. Victor Stone was still unconscious on the bed, and 4 drip in his arm. After setting everything down, Asher picked up a fruit knife and started peeling a peach. Riley, is her brother going to be all right? Asher already knew the answer. After the Dragon Queen, the protagonist's #1 general wasn't going to be taken down by something so trivial. At his words, Riley's eyes lit up. It was just like Asher's inner voice had said. Even the doctors were amazed by Victor's physical condition. A normal person would have died from such a large dose of anesthetic, but Victor's freakish constitution had allowed him to weather it. Once the excess anesthetic was flushed from his system, he would regain consciousness. Doctors and nurses were checking on him constantly. With so many staff members eager to impress Asher and Khloe, they were practically fighting over the grunt work. Riley was told she could just wait outside. Asher, it's just like you said. Riley's voice trailed off. In her excitement, she'd almost let something slip. Asher paused. Like I said, what? Faced with his curious gaze, Riley began to panic. She didn't want to lie to him, but she couldn't let him know about his inner voice. Just as she was stuck, a lowly-like voice cut in. You good-for-nothing, perverted, creepy siscon. The guy is still lying in a hospital bed, and you're already hitting on his sister? You're hopeless. Unbelievable. The voice was icy. Asher jumped, looking toward the door. Khloe walked in, also carrying fruit, and glared at him with an expression one might reserve for pond scum. I didn't. Don't you dare slander me. Asher vehemently denied the siscon accusation. He really did not have that particular quirk. Anya tilted her head, her mouth slightly agape, trying her best to look surprised. But her flat tone gave her away. Wow, Asher, you're a siscon. She's slandering me. Asher was starting to panic. The exchange between the Vance siblings made Riley burst out laughing. But her laughter was cut short by an embarrassing snot bubble that popped from her nose. It was probably from crying so much earlier. Beauty that bubbles, perhaps. Asher, don't look. Riley's face turned beet red as she scurried into the private bathroom. Asher calmed down and turned to the deadpan dragon queen, gritting his teeth. Anya, do you think you're being funny? Anya nodded, then shook her head. Am I? I didn't know. Asher felt like he was going to have an aneurysm. He handed the peeled peach to her. Here, go eat this. Anya's mouth formed a small O of surprise. She took it and bit into it, her eyes closing in pleasure. With a perfect double entendre, she murmured, so sweet. Asher was surprised. Shouldn't it be? Ice cream so good? Do you want some? Anya offered him the side she had just bitten. Asher stared. Doesn't the dragon queen have any common sense? Aren't you supposed to offer the uneaten part to someone else? No, you eat it. Asher waved his hands. At some point, Khloe had produced her own peach and held out to him. Hey, siscon, peel one for me too. Get lost. You have hands, don't you? Peel it yourself. Hurry up. You won't even call me big brother. I have no reason to satisfy an ungrateful brat like you. Ashy big brother, Khloe suddenly cooed in a sickly sweet, teasing voice. The lowly tone combined with a seductive purr was a lethal combination. Asher couldn't handle it. He was genuinely scared. Can you please be normal? Ugh, you're the one who told me to say it, and I did. Now what about you? Fine, you win. He took the peach and expertly peeled it. Khloe's teasing act was terrifying. It made him feel like he was one step away from a very, very awkward family intervention. Normal sisters were fine. As long as they weren't scheming, everything was negotiable. He finished in seconds and tossed the peach to her. There! She caught it deftly and took a large bite. So sweet. After Riley came out, they chatted for a bit longer. Asher checked the time and decided it was getting late. He said his goodbyes to Riley and left, with Anya following close behind. What he found strange was that Khloe stayed, and she seemed to be getting along famously with Riley. It completely baffled him. Was there some special magnetic pull between female leads? Riley's future was no simple matter, either. If Scarlet Zhao was the queen of the business world, then Riley Song was destined to be the queen of finance. With her uncanny intuition, 9 out of 10 stocks she picked were winners. If those two ever teamed up, the money would flow like a river. But Asher knew their identities meant they could never truly be allies. After Asher and Anya were gone, Khloe's smile remained, but the topic of conversation shifted abruptly. Riley, you can hear Asher's inner voice, can't you? Riley, you can hear Asher's inner voice, can't you? The moment the words were spoken, the cheerful atmosphere in the room evaporated. Riley stared in shock, her mouth hanging open. Khloe, no need to deny it. And don't be nervous. With the same kind of person, Khloe smiled, seeing right through her. She reconsidered her phrasing. Or rather, we're all female leads. There are more of us than just you and me. A lot of pretty girls can hear Asher's inner voice. Riley looked utterly lost. She was a perfect candidate for an alliance. That's what Khloe thought. The other female leads had too many of their own ideas and would never be willing to compromise. But Riley was different. She was Victor Stone's sister and had a bright future ahead of her. From every angle, she was an ideal ally. Khloe, that's a terrible joke, Riley said, her face looking more pain than if she were crying. She wasn't the only one. Fine. She could live with being second place. But Khloe said there were many other pretty girls just like her. Suddenly, all hope seemed to drain from her life. The pressure was immense. Terrible. Khloe tilted her head, pressing a pale finger to her lips. Maybe a little, but reality is far crueler, including the truth about the world you're living in. As a female lead, Riley would find out eventually. Khloe figured she might as well earn a favor. After all, before her rebirth, she had personally witnessed the rise and glory of this queen of finance. At the time, Khloe was already overseas, but she noticed when Riley made headlines by publicly searching for a man named Asher Vance. She hadn't paid it much mind. There were plenty of men with that name. She never thought the universe would play such a cruel joke on her. The Asher that Riley was looking for was her brother. What is the truth about this world? Riley took a deep breath. Though her eyes were still filled with confusion, she wanted to know. It would bring her closer to Asher, help her understand him better. She had no intention of being a mere decoration. A small smile curved Khloe's lips, as innocent as ever. They talked for over 2 hours. Khloe explained that their world was a novel, laid out Asher's current situation and his future fate, and told her about his enemy, Leo Flynn. When Riley heard that Leo Flynn was destined to kill Asher, her pupils contracted, and her small fists clenched so tightly her knuckles turned white. Her anger was raw and real. During the conversation, Khloe briefly mentioned why Victor was being hunted, but explained it wasn't her story to tell. That was for him and Riley to discuss. With the shared foundation of hearing his thoughts, Khloe was able to corroborate details from Asher's inner monologues, and Riley quickly came to believe her. The sudden appearance of the volcanic clay formula and Jessica Yang's public pursuit of Asher were other pieces of evidence that Khloe mentioned, and Riley connected the dots. Jessica, don't blame me for selling you out, Khloe thought, comforting herself. I'm really not planning on letting anyone else have Asher. No one. Of course, she felt no guilt. Compared to the suffering she'd endured in her past life, these were trivial matters. Not long after they finished talking, Victor Stone woke up. He was still groggy, but seeing Riley alive and well, the big man forced himself to sit up, then fell to his knees before Khloe. He said only one thing. Thank you. He wasn't a man of many words. Khloe knew what it meant. Victor Stone was now completely loyal to her. Doctors and nurses rushed in again to check on Victor, and after confirming he was fine, Khloe left. That evening, as the old saying goes, a sly rabbit has 3 burrows. Asher was no different. Did those female leads really think he had no way of dealing with them? On the contrary, using the excuse of going home to grab some things, he'd left Anya waiting in his CEO office. He did go home to get a change of clothes, but his real goal was to shake her. By the time he was done, it was late afternoon. He didn't need to worry about the company. The CEO only needed to step in for major decisions. Most of the time, the position was just a title. The Van Cess paid well, and they didn't hire useless people. Their employees were top-notch. Anya, oh, Anya, you're still so young. Asher mused to himself later, standing before the floor-to-ceiling windows of a hotel suite, the glittering NYC skyline spread out before him. That stupid greeting. To hell with it. You didn't expect this, did you? I'm not even going home. His electronics were all off. He'd already sent a message to his mom. As for Khloe, part of the reason he was out was to avoid her. He wasn't stupid enough to text her. Even if they weren't siblings, there was no point. The road ahead was long, and all he wanted was to find his way home without getting lost. Asher yawned, sleep creeping up on him. Tomorrow, I'll get Riley to install an anti-scam app. Teach her some useful knowledge so she doesn't fall for this crap again. Click. The room's lights went out. Soon, Asher's breathing evened out. At 1 a.m, in the pitch-black room, another sound joined Asher's steady breathing, the faint click of a window being pushed open. A graceful figure slipped inside and moved silently to Asher's bedside. If Asher had opened his eyes, he would have jumped out of his skin. Dragon Queen, how are you here? This is the 20th floor. Yes, it was Anya. Finding Asher's location was easy. His inner voice had revealed his plans before he left. She had found him without any trouble. In her hand, she held a rope. Her gaze fell on Asher's sleeping face, and her movements paused for a fraction of a second. The system's charm boost over the past few days was no joke. And without his constant inner monologue, a sleeping Asher possessed a strange, captivating magic. The Dragon Queen's face flushed a faint crimson. She swallowed, the sound barely audible. Asher is so cute, she whispered to herself. But the rope in her hands was pulled taut. She had no intention of letting him off the hook. She tilted her head slightly. You promised me. Why did you lie to me? She thought about it for a moment, decided the question was too difficult and concluded that assassination was much simpler. She was only here to collect on a promise. She didn't have the brain cells to waste on complex emotional reasoning. The fastest, most effective method was always best. She was only here to collect on a promise. She didn't have the brain cells to waste on complex emotional reasoning. The fastest, most effective method was always best. In a hazy dream, Asher saw all the female leads switch sides. He went from being the villain to the protagonist. The original protagonist, Leo Flynn, was now public enemy number one, hunted by all the women. It was terrifying, but something even more terrifying followed. That vision vanished, replaced by a new horror. Because he had tricked the Dragon Queen, Anya had come for him. She tied him up. She even force-kissed him. The sensation was so real, so vivid, that Asher suspected it wasn't a dream at all. He forced his heavy eyelids open. In the darkness, a figure lunged at him. The female rogue had a pleasant, faint scent that Asher could clearly smell at this close distance. He immediately began to ponder life's three great questions. Who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? Soon he had the answers. He was Asher, a villain, in the presidential suite of the Vance Tower Hotel. He was supposed to be sleeping, but he'd been ambushed by some unknown female assailant. It was infuriating. Was the hotel security just for show? Fortunately, unlike his dream, he wasn't tied up. His hands and feet were free. He began to struggle, muffled protests escaping his lips. But his strength was no match for hers. His iron mantle was for defense, not offense, and besides, the damn thing hadn't even triggered. That proved this woman was here for pleasure, not to take his life. Asher's resistance seemed to excite her. She showed no signs of letting up. After another 2 minutes, his eyes adjusted to the dark. You're forcing my hand, he thought. He was prepared to bite his tongue. If he was going down, he was taking her with him. But just as he was about to commit to the act, he saw her face. Asher felt like he'd been struck by lightning. Oh no, Anya, what are you doing here? He tried to shout. Wait, how the hell did you find me? This is the 20th floor. His words came out as a series of helpless mumbles. But even though she couldn't understand his speech, Anya could hear his inner voice loud and clear. Not that it mattered. In her worldview, a promise was a promise. That applied to her, to Asher, and to everyone else. She had considered tying him up, but she worried it would hurt him if he struggled. So she'd abandoned the idea. Normally, she wouldn't even consider such things. A target was supposed to wait quietly to be dealt with. Useless struggling only prolonged the pain. But ever since she'd been around Asher, she found herself thinking about things she never used to. It was strange. Time ticked by. Asher struggled, then finally gave up. What was the saying? Don't go against the Dragon Queen's will. And if life deceives you, don't take it to heart. Just endure the painful moments. He knew Anya's interest was like a child's. She'd play for a while, then get bored. So he calmed down. His breathing became easier. Now, it was a test of patience. Half an hour passed. An hour and a half. After nearly 2 hours, Asher could no longer remain calm. This Dragon Queen was even more relentless than the she-devil Scarlet. He had to do something. So he decided to play dead, pretending to suffocate. If he could just trick her into letting go, he'd be free. But he had severely underestimated his opponent. He didn't know she could hear his every thought. So even with his Oscar-worthy performance, it was still just an act. Finally, after 3 hours, Asher's mind went blank. His thoughts ceased. He had achieved a state of pure Zen nothingness. Anya's brow furrowed slightly. She lifted her head to check on him. In that split second, Asher broke free. He snatched the bedsheet and rolled to the far corner of the room, gasping for air. He had survived. His lips were swollen, and since force is a two-way street, Anya's probably weren't much better. After gulping down some fresh air, he managed to speak. Anya, what was that? The greeting ceremony. You promised me this afternoon. Her voice was flat, as if she were discussing the weather. She started to approach him again. Asher panicked. Okay, I fulfilled the promise. We're done. He felt so wronged. The Dragon Queen had played dirty, launching a sneak attack while he was sleeping. He was just an old comrade. Was this right? No, it was not. He advised the Dragon Queen to do some serious self-reflection. But for now, the most important thing was to say whatever it took to stop her from doing it again. Anya's steps faltered. Right? Asher's promise was fulfilled, the one she had just collected. For a moment, she didn't know what to do. Asher let out a sigh of relief. He knew her weakness. The Dragon Queen was a woman of principle. She didn't do things without a reason. In simple terms, all brawn, no brain. But his relief was short-lived. Anya's voice came again. Asher, let's do the greeting ceremony again. Hiss. Asher felt he was a sinner, a man of great sin. But if he had sinned, he wanted to be punished by the heavenly laws of this world, not by a female lead. Do it again? My ass. It's fake. It was all fake. Asher didn't care anymore. Getting his legs broken by his father was a problem for the future. Getting killed by the Dragon Queen was a problem for tonight. He couldn't afford to gamble. He surrendered completely. It took nearly an hour of explaining. Asher's eyes were bloodshot. The Dragon Queen's late-night visit had left him utterly exhausted. After his tireless, painstaking explanation, which included pulling out his phone and searching for Khloe's made-up greeting ceremony, which, of course, didn't exist online, he proved his point. Unfortunately, Anya hadn't listened to a word of it. Or rather, it didn't matter. Once Anya believed something, it was gospel. Asher refused to accept his fate. Another round might actually kill him, and he didn't want to go out in such a humiliating way. Anya, come on, let's set some ground rules. Ground rules? Yes. You still want the greeting ceremony, right? Yes. Right. So let's make some rules. Asher coaxed her gently. Anya didn't object, listening patiently. It was better if he was stable. She didn't want to watch him struggle, either. It was a little stimulating, but ultimately unpleasant. First, no, I'm getting carried away. Each greeting can last a maximum of 1 minute. Second, a maximum of once per day. Third, strictly adhere to the first 2 points. Any questions? Asher said, dead serious. Yes, Anya replied. Asher nodded. Good, no questions then. So I can break the rules. Please state your question. Asher held up a hand, a gesture that said, I'm listening. His expression was grave. I can listen to your opinion, but whether I accept it is another matter. Anya didn't overthink it. The greeting time is too short, and the frequency is too low. It should be 10 times 1 hour each. Why don't you just kill me and get it over with? Asher was speechless. Anya, let's be reasonable. How about morning, noon, and night? 5 minutes maximum. Any more than that, you might as well just kill me. Seeing his displeasure, Anya thought it over seriously, then nodded. Okay. Asher yawned. All right, that's enough for tonight. You can go sleep next door. During their conversation, he'd figure out she'd gotten a room next to his and climbed across. Of course you did. But Anya shook her head. No, I'm sleeping here tonight. Hiss. Asher sucked in a breath. The occupier becomes the occupied. He got up. Fine, then let's sleep. Where's your room key? I'll go next door. I'm not giving you the key. Where you go, I go. Anya, before you were a bodyguard, were you a bandit? Something like that. But better than a bandit. I only kill people who deserve it, and I don't do it for money. Asher's mouth twitched. The Dragon Queen was a lost cause. The room was big enough. He could sleep on the sofa. With that thought, he brushed past her, his heart pounding. He prayed she wouldn't try anything else. That damn protagonist was so insidious, sending the Dragon Queen to mess with his sleep. He thought he'd gotten away with it, but Anya grabbed him and threw him back on the bed. I'm just considering your safety. I hope you can understand. If I do anything offensive, you can fire me at any time, she said calmly. But Asher saw her hand tremble slightly. Was it excitement? Or anticipation? Damn it. You think I won't fight back? Ha ha. Anya, you're too kind. Asher laughed, giving up. He obediently moved to the left side of the bed. There was no escaping. Who knew who would get the short end of the stick now? Anya blinked. Kind? How can I be less kind? She walked to the edge of the bed. Asher was about to say something, but a twinge of pain from his swollen lips stopped him. No more games. Let's sleep, he said, turning his back to her. Anya nodded, climbed into bed, and turned off the light in one smooth motion. Anya, what did you just say? Did I say something? You said if you did anything offensive, I could fire you. Oh yes, I said that. And, quiet. I'm asleep. Asher grumbled, too tired to argue. At first, he was tense, but then he remembered. The Dragon Queen was a woman of principle. She wasn't like the other female leads, who said one thing and meant another. He soon relaxed. As dawn approached, he couldn't stay awake any longer and drifted off. Anya watched him for a while longer before falling asleep herself. The next day, around noon, sunlight streamed through the windows. Asher finally woke up, feeling refreshed. The mood was instantly ruined when he felt a heavy weight on his left arm. He turned his head and saw Anya's delicate face, fast asleep, thrown into a crowd. No one would ever guess she was the world's #1 assassin. He watched her for a moment, then tried to pull his arm free. He needed a cold shower to clear his head, and he had to get to work. He moved slowly, but Anya still woke up, murmuring softly before her eyes fluttered open. They were face to face. Asher gave an awkward smile. You're awake? Anya had been honest. Nothing had happened last night. She nodded, and then, without a word, she lunged. Asher was stunned. 10 minutes later. Good morning. Good afternoon, Anya said. Asher's eye twitched. This is not the greeting I had in mind. We made a deal this morning. Asher was speechless. He had dug this hole himself, and now he was buried in it. There was no one to blame. Morning and afternoon greetings combined. 10 minutes. He had to admit, the Dragon Queen was nothing if not true to her word. While Asher was getting ready, a major event was unfolding at Vance Corporation. The price of crude oil had begun to plummet. It wasn't just the Van Cess who knew. Every major family and corporation, both at home and abroad, received the news at the same time. The news about the world-class oil field discovery had actually broken 2 days ago. That it hadn't immediately gone viral was a masterpiece of capitalist intervention. After all, for the titans holding billions in crude oil futures, a price crash was a catastrophic event. The domino effect of such a discovery was immense, so sealing off the information flow, even temporarily, was no simple feat. They had poured a fortune into the blackout, not asking for an eternity, just a week. Enough time to offload the bulk of their holdings and mitigate the damage. Everything had been proceeding smoothly. But then, as fate would have it, a second massive oil field was discovered today. According to preliminary surveys, this new site had the same world-class potential as the first. The two locations were on opposite ends of the globe, too far apart for the financial puppeteers to contain the second leak. The dam broke. The news flooded the market, and the price of crude began to plummet. Vance Corporation had just sunk tens of billions of dollars in oil bonds. Watching that investment evaporate in real time was enough to induce panic in even the most seasoned executives. Inside a spacious, sunlit conference room, the mood was anything but bright. Ms. Zhao, the price of crude is in freefall. They're saying one massive deposit was found in the Northwest Sea and another in a basin in the Middle East. With modern technology, every retail investor will know within the hour. We need to dump all the futures we bought now. Dump them? Another executive scoffed bitterly. Go look at the market. The price has been halved, and our sell orders have been sitting there for hours untouched. Retail investors might get the news slow, but they aren't idiots. So what do we do, Ms. Zhao? The room descended into chaos. Tens of billions wasn't small sum. The real problem? Trusting Scarlet Zhao's golden touch. Many of them had secretly followed her lead, sinking their own money. In some cases, most of their life savings, into the same futures, dreaming of a massive payday. They all recognized Scarlet's prowess, which was why they jumped in. Losing the company's money was one thing. But this was their own cash. In a flash, the dream was dead. The frustration in the room was a palpable, suffocating force. But they couldn't complain to Scarlet. She'd never once told them to buy in. They had done so voluntarily, hoping to ride her coattails to a fortune. Losing felt terrible. Winning would have felt glorious. These titans of industry, usually brimming with confidence, now wore expressions of pure misery, as if someone had just swindled them out of their retirement funds. Only one person, seated at the head of the table, remained impassive. In fact, deep down, she was fighting the urge to laugh. Scarlet Zhao was not nearly as calm as she appeared. The $50 billion fund was supposed to be the biggest milestone of her career. But thanks to Asher's inner monologue, she knew this play was about to turn that into a staggering $500 billion in liquid assets. She understood exactly what that meant. It meant the gap between her and Asher would vanish. It meant she would be his lawfully wedded wife, the undisputed queen to his king. All the other little pretenders, the nameless vixens and wannabes, would be forced to stay in the shadows, never daring to even meet his parents. This was the primary reason she fought so hard for this position. She refused to be a secret. A relationship without the blessing of their families was worthless. Scarlet spoke, her voice cutting through the panic with surgical precision. Halt all sales of the company's crude oil futures. With the current market trajectory, not selling was sheer insanity. Scarlet was steering the ship directly into the storm. Her command was so audacious it stunned the room into silence. Ms. Zhao, if we don't sell, those tens of billions will be completely wiped out. A middle-aged executive reminded her, his voice strained. He had a lot of personal skin in this game and was starting to sweat. Another senior executive, a woman, chimed in. She's right. This isn't some minor project. Even as the future daughter-in-law of the Vance family, you have a duty to consider the company's well-being, don't you? This woman had joined Vance Corporation right out of college and had been with the company for 15 years. She felt a deep sense of loyalty. When the company thrived, she thrived, and when it suffered, so did she. Others felt the same, but were too intimidated by Scarlet's status to speak up, fearing they would offend the future misses. Vance. A slow, knowing smile spread across Scarlet's face. Of course, I'm considering the Vance family's well-being. Her eyes swept across the room. I know that most of you hold a certain amount of these futures yourselves. She let that hang in the air for a moment. So how about this? I will personally purchase all of your existing crude oil futures for double your original buy-in price. Any futures bought after this announcement don't count. Are there any objections? This was a calculated move. She knew her family, the Zhaos, had also heard the news and would be panicking. They too had invested heavily. Her uncles would prioritize their personal fortunes over the family company. Scarlet had no intention of letting them dump their shares so easily. She was playing a psychological game, and this was her smokescreen. The loyalty of the Vance executives was the perfect tool. In effect, she was using her own capital, money Eleanor Vance had given her from the Vance family's private wealth, entirely separate from corporate funds, to lock in the loyalty of her new team while simultaneously putting the squeeze on her own greedy relatives. It was a small price to pay to avoid demoralizing her subordinates. This move was a masterstroke, a single stone intended to hit 3 birds, weaken the power of her uncles, win the hearts and minds of the Vance Corporation's top brass, and create confusion for other rival families, making them hesitate to sell their own holdings. Every day, she could delay the broader market panic was a victory. As her words settled, a brief, stunned silence fell over the conference room. Who would say no to free money? But this was a blatant act of damaging the Vance family's interests for personal gain. Did Asher know? Did Eleanor know? The company was named Vance, not Zhao. The female executive who had spoken earlier shot to her feet, her voice ringing with accusation. What is the meaning of this, Ms. Zhao? The corporation is facing a multi-billion-dollar loss, and your solution is to make it even worse? This is a great deal for us. I won't deny that. I personally invested $2 million, but you're still using the Vance family's money to bail us out. Scarlet blinked, a playful glint in her eyes. She tapped a long, elegant finger on the polished mahogany table. When did I ever say I was using the Vance family's money? She let the question linger before clarifying. Let me repeat myself. I said that I will personally acquire the crude oil futures you hold at double the original market price you paid. She paused, her peach blossom eyes curving into crescents. Now, are there any objections? Wait, what? The female executive was floored. Was this actually happening? She wasn't the only one. A wave of astonishment washed over the room. Scarlet Zhao apparently treated money like it was paper. Forget double the price. They would have been thrilled to sell at cost and just break even. The room erupted in hushed, urgent whispers as everyone tried to figure out Scarlet's angle. The executive who had challenged her now nodded, her posture humble and her tone deeply apologetic. I'm sorry, Ms. Zhao. I was out of line. Please forgive me. Scarlet waved a dismissive hand. It's fine. Sit. After a moment, she looked at the still hesitant executives and added, my time is limited. If you haven't sold your futures to me by the end of the day, you'll have to find another buyer. For those who want to sell, I'll have my assistant come in to handle the verification process. Her voice hardened slightly. Furthermore, without my express permission, no one is to sell off the corporation's futures, no matter how low the price drops. I'll speak to the general manager myself. That's all. Meeting adjourned. Any remaining hesitation among the executives evaporated. Scarlet Zhao was no fool who would willingly take a loss. Her buying up their shares suggested there might be a reversal in the market, but she had left them no time to deliberate. If they didn't sell now, they were guaranteed to lose money. Whatever her plan was, she was offering them a golden parachute. Back in her executive office, Scarlet instructed her secretary to head to the conference room and begin processing the futures purchases. With that done, she sank into her chair and turned her phone back on. The screen lit up with over 20 missed calls. As she expected, her face remained placid. A quick glance at the call log showed her parents, her grandfather, and several of her uncles. Her parents had only called twice. The rest were from other Zhao relatives. They're panicking, Scarlet murmured, a triumphant smile spreading across her lips. She could practically picture the agonized expressions on her uncles' faces. This downer wouldn't bankrupt them, but it was going to be a massive, painful bleed. She leaned down, pulling open a drawer. Inside was a neatly stacked pile of signed contracts and agreements. A soft laugh escaped her. My little wolf was right. I guess I was born to be the villain. Huh, that's weird. Scarlet's slender finger, poised over her phone screen, froze. She blinked, then scanned the call log again. And again, the one name she had expected to see, Eleanor Vance, was conspicuously absent. The unexpectedness of it left the she-devil stunned for a long moment, before she let out a sudden, beautiful laugh. It was a shame no one was there to witness it. It seems my mother-in-law's trust in me is even greater than I imagined. Eleanor had entrusted her with a liquid fund of $35 billion. A woman of her caliber would have known about the market crash long before anyone else in that conference room. Yet, even so, she hadn't made a single call. What did that signify? Trust. Unconditional trust. Scarlet decided she should at least send Eleanor a message. Eleanor might not ask, but Scarlet felt she had a duty to report. Besides, the victory was close at hand. She couldn't reveal everything just yet, not with her marriage to Asher on the line. She needed to play this last hand perfectly. It would all unfold in the next few days. She was going to give Asher the surprise of a lifetime. Before Asher or his parents could even react, she would have her dowry ready, a figure so immense that even Eleanor Vance couldn't possibly refuse it. The more she thought about it, the more excited she became. Her thumbs flew across the screen. In her chat with Eleanor. Scarlet. Mom, everything is under control. A moment later, a reply came back. A single, simple character. Eleanor. No questions. No follow-up. Nothing. Scarlet felt a sense of disbelief. She had prepared a whole speech, ready to explain if Eleanor pressed her, even willing to reveal the whole plan if necessary. But Eleanor hadn't even asked. Her resolve hardened. Asher Vance was hers. With a mother-in-law this perfect and a man she adored, letting any other woman snatch him away would be the ultimate failure. As for the Zhao family, she didn't reply immediately, not to her parents, her grandfather, or any of her relatives. But just because she didn't reply didn't mean she wasn't doing anything. Someone else was already doing the work for her. Over at the Zhao Corporation headquarters, in an executive office. What did you say? Scarlet is buying the Vance executive's crude futures at double the price. With her own money. She's lost her mind. She has to be insane. And she's forcing Vance Corp to hold onto their futures too. Right, I understand. Keep me updated on any new developments. Okay, talk later. Ronald Zhao, who had been on the verge of sweeping his entire desk onto the floor in a fit of rage, suddenly calmed down. His fury was replaced by a deep, profound confusion. He couldn't figure out what game his brilliant niece was playing. But after a moment of analysis, he reasoned that the Zhao family had over $10 billion in liquid capital invested. The Vance family undoubtedly had more. He refused to believe Scarlet would let both the Vance and Zhao fortunes go down the drain. Just wait. We'll just wait a little longer. Ronald rubbed his temples. He had scraped together $10 million of his own money and, trusting Scarlet, had thrown it all into crude oil futures. If it weren't for this call, he would have already dumped it all for a catastrophic loss. Selling now would mean losing at least half. He couldn't bring himself to do it. It was the gambler's fallacy. If he sold now, he might recoup some of his investment. But if he waited a few more days and a third oil field was discovered, his $10 million might not even be worth one. Scenes like this were playing out all across the Zhao Corporation and the various branches of the Zhao family. Scarlet had never intended to keep her actions a secret. Executives at Vance and Zhao knew each other. It was only natural that the news would travel fast. At 3 in the afternoon, Asher returned to the office with Anya in tow. The atmosphere inside was strange. He noticed several executives looking at him, their mouths half open as if they wanted to say something but didn't dare. Asher was completely baffled. If you have something to say, just say it. He glanced around. Not a single one of them would step forward. They all looked like deer in headlights. Asher's eye twitched. He ventured a guess. Did something happen at the company today? They all exchanged nervous glances until finally, Mark Lee hurried over, his face a mask of awkwardness. Ahem. Mr. Vance, your foresight is truly astonishing. Asher's eyes widened, and he held his breath. Seeing his dramatic reaction, Mark and the other executives bowed their heads. Mr. Vance, it's bad news. The estimated value of crude oil has plummeted. That futures deal we invested in. It's a total bust. Mark had secretly bought $500,000 worth of futures and sold them to Scarlet for $1 million. He really shouldn't have brought this up, but his loyalty was to Vance Corporation. Even if it meant angering Scarlet, he had to report it. Asher stood frozen, looking like a statue. The executives' faces fell. He must be devastated. The room fell into an eerie silence. If only they could hear his inner thoughts, like Anya could, their jaws would have hit the floor. Fuck. Yes. Finally. I've been waiting for this moment forever. Mark, are you an idiot? How do you turn the best news of the year into bad news? Are you insane? That she-devil secretly used company funds from her family's side for this, didn't she? It all went down the drain, right? Looks like I'll have to step in and use my family's money to bail you out. The company lost a chunk, my own investment lost a chunk, and now I have to pay you back for the money you owe the Zhaos. Hiv. That's 3 losses. triple the happiness. If so many people weren't watching, Asher would have burst out laughing. He composed himself, reached out, and clapped the bewildered Mark Lee on the shoulder. "Are you sure?" he asked, confirming the news again. The investment really went south. Mark was stunned. Why wasn't the boss angry? Not only that, Mark could have sworn he saw a smile playing at the corners of Asher's lips. He blinked, then nodded numbly. "It's gone." Asher suppressed a grin. Thank God the system's Oscar winner buff was top tier, or he would have lost it right there. "Well, if it's gone, it's gone. It's not the end of the world," Asher said, his face a perfect mask of calm reassurance while his mind did backflips. He offered a few more comforting words to soothe everyone's nerves. "Oh, by the way," he asked suddenly, "what's the follow-up plan for those futures?" Last time, in the original story, they'd sold them off, which meant the loss wasn't total. Asher wanted to avoid a repeat of that half measure. The moment he asked, the executive's expressions turned bizarre, as if they were all simultaneously constipated. Asher raised an eyebrow. Before he could ask, Mark spoke up, looking utterly horrified. "Mr. Vance didn't miss. Zhao tell you?" Asher grew even more confused. "Tell me what?" "Well." Mark swallowed hard, hesitating. He wasn't sure if he should continue. Asher waved a hand impatiently. "Whatever it is, I'll handle it. Just spit it out." Reassured, Mark laid it all out. Scarlet had forbidden them from selling the company's futures and had even used her own money to buy out their personal holdings. The room fell silent once again. But this time, the silence was broken by Asher's loud, unrestrained laughter. He truly couldn't hold it in anymore. That she-devil was such a treasure. She knew him so well. Under the baffled gazes of his employees, Asher spoke. "Why would you do that? Why go to Ms. Zhao for reimbursement? You should have come straight to me. She was probably busy and didn't have time to tell me." He beamed at them. "She did absolutely the right thing. And another thing, if any of you didn't sell your futures, come see me. I'll buy them from you at 5 times the price." At first, the executives felt a wave of relief. So their Ms. Zhao wasn't trying to screw over the Vance family after all. But his next words left them utterly dumbfounded. A second later, that shock turned into a burning desire to slap themselves. Why did they have to sell so quickly? If they had just waited for Asher to get back, they could have made 5 times their money. The room filled with murmurs of regret. They didn't have any futures left. They'd sold every last one. Asher overheard their laments and pieced together what had happened. He'd have to pay Scarlet a visit. This was his project after all. There was no reason for the she-devil to spend her own money. If she hadn't come to his office last time, she probably wouldn't have thought to dip into the Zhao family funds for this oil venture. So, ultimately, it was his fault. Yes, one must take responsibility for one's mistakes. He'd go find the she-devil and reimburse her for the losses. As for the day's wonderful news, Asher was feeling generous. "We're celebrating tonight on the company's dime," he announced. "Go back to your offices and have your assistants inform the department heads. Spread the word in the workgroup chats. We're doing this up to the standard of the annual gala." He added, "And of course, same as always, attendance is optional. Come if you want. If you're busy or just not feeling it, no pressure." Vance Corporation's company events were different. Most corporations mandated attendance to foster team spirit. Vance Corp was far more relaxed, understanding that everyone had their own lives. According to company surveys, this policy resulted in near-perfect attendance at every gala and major event. Unless it was a true emergency, everyone came. Who in their right mind would turn down a free, multi-thousand-dollar meal at one of the world's most luxurious hotels? "Whoa, Mr. Vance, you're looking extra handsome today. Lou, are you blind? I noticed that ages ago." "Mr. Vance is the most handsome man in the universe." "Okay. Exactly. Manager Lou, if you can't say something smart, just tape your mouth shut from now on." "Mr. Vance is a legend." The flattery rained down, and for the most part, it was genuine. Asher's current looks certainly warranted it. Maybe it was a villain thing, but he didn't mind the praise. He let it wash over him for another minute before making his escape. Any longer, and they might actually try to launch him into orbit to hang out with the sun. He slipped away and headed for Scarlet's office, a shadow trailing behind him. The Dragon Queen's tail. He couldn't shake her. Even when he told her to wait in his office, that she didn't need to come, she wouldn't listen. What could he do? If she wanted to follow, let her follow. Besides, bringing Anya along wasn't entirely a bad thing. This was his first time visiting Scarlet's office. A bodyguard could come in handy. "Knock, knock, knock. What is it?" Scarlet's pleasant voice came from inside. Asher steadied himself. "It's me, Asher." A moment later, he heard the sound of hurried footsteps, and the door swung open with a click. "You're here," the she-devil's voice rang out, filled with a pleasant surprise. Today, Scarlet was dressed in a crisp white blouse, a black pencil skirt that hugged her curves, and sheer black stockings that accentuated her long, sexy legs. All the buttons on her shirt had been fastened, but upon seeing Asher, she reached up with a slender finger and undid the top two. That was much better. The stuffy feeling was gone. The flash of pale skin made Asher's head spin. He cleared his throat, about to say something, when Scarlet spoke again. "Are you here for some candy?" Her tone was teasing, her face wreathed in a smile. She seemed to be in an exceptionally good mood. "Candy? Yeah, the big kind. Is one piece enough?" "No way. Bring me a whole box. Thanks, she-devil." "Ugh, candy my ass. What the hell have you been doing?" Asher quickly averted his gaze, affecting an air of nonchalance. "I heard you bought some futures." Scarlet blinked, then chuckled. "When am I not buying futures?" Asher's mouth twitched. He put on a stern expression. "I heard you bought up all the crude oil futures from the executives, the ones that are bleeding money." She nodded dismissively. "That's right, I bought them all. Want to know why?" "Why?" Asher asked, genuinely confused. Scarlet leaned forward slightly, crooking a finger at him. "You want to know? Come inside, and I'll tell you." That slight bend was devastating. Her blouse strained against her chest, and Asher felt like the pencil skirt might just burst at the seams. Goddamn, it was terrifying. He reflexively glanced over his shoulder at his dragon's tail. Seeing Anya standing there, expressionless as ever, he felt a surge of relief. "All right." Scarlet's gaze followed his, landing on the dragon queen. Her brow furrowed, her good mood instantly souring. But after a moment's thought, a playful curve returned to her lips. "Why don't you both come in?" she purred, stepping aside and gesturing them inside. Asher was a bit bewildered, but he strode into the office. He had backup this time. He refused to believe the she-devil would try anything too outrageous. If she did, wouldn't she be risking total social annihilation? Click. Scarlet closed the door and, playing the part of the gracious host, said, "Make yourselves comfortable." Anya remained standing behind Asher, but he found a sofa and sat down. Scarlet prepared 2 cups of tea for them. "So, still want to know why I bought those futures?" Asher took a sip of tea, his face a neutral mask. "Not anymore." If he said yes, the she-devil would probably propose some bizarre condition, like eating her candy. He wasn't falling for that. Scarlet shot him an exasperated look and set down her teacup. "Then what did you come here for?" Her voice held a hint of playful resentment as her eyes darted to Anya standing behind him. If Asher had come alone, she could have had her way with him. But with a third wheel present, it was no fun at all. Asher cut to the chase. "The bad call on the oil futures isn't your fault alone. I'm in on it too. People make mistakes, and if the other executives chose to follow our lead, that's on them. You don't have to pay for their errors." He paused, meeting Scarlet's astonished gaze. "This is a Vance family matter, and I should be the one to clean it up. She-devil, don't ever use your own money to cover losses like this again. But you did a good job this time. Even when it was tanking, you didn't sell the company's holdings to cut losses. If we're going to lose, we lose it all. I appreciate that. Please continue this trend in the future." Ping. "Congratulations, host. You have received $10,000 in cash." Before hearing his inner thoughts, Scarlet had actually thought her little wolf was turning over a new leaf. It was a warm, thoughtful sentiment. But after hearing his true feelings, she realized it was the same old Asher. Of course, everyone else was desperately trying to make money, while Asher was constantly plotting how to lose it. The only difference was, the more others tried to profit, the less they made, while the more Asher tried to lose, the richer he became. Maybe that was what true vision looked like. Scarlet smiled sweetly at him. "What do you mean, a Vance family matter? Am I not part of your Vance family?" Asher was speechless. She had a point. The system had also indicated he didn't need to follow the script to the letter anymore. He just had to show up when needed. This new freedom left him deep in thought. But then he spotted a flaw in her argument. "I don't have a habit of letting women spend money on me," Asher said, which was his way of tacitly agreeing with her premise. He could finally be himself a little. "What did you say?" Scarlet exclaimed, her peach blossom eyes wide with genuine surprise. Asher repeated himself like a clueless dolt. "I don't like spending women's money, okay?" It wasn't that he didn't like it. It was that the number of rich women who could actually afford to support him was infinitesimally small. Scarlet had recently gone broke, left with nothing but a single car. She probably didn't have much cash left. That's why he didn't want her wasting it. "You're going to support me?" I. Forget it. Let's not talk about that." "Then I'll support you. You have money?" Asher asked, baffled. Scarlet poured herself another cup of tea. "I do. I'll have a lot very soon. How much could you possibly have?" Asher scoffed. She took a sip, her eyes crinkling with amusement, and held up one hand, finger splayed. Asher guessed. 50 million. Scarlet, guess again. Asher, 500 million. Scarlet, keep going. Asher swallowed hard. I'm very expensive, you know. 5 billion. She just shook her head, encouraging him. Be bold. Try thinking bigger. Asher sucked in a sharp breath, his head buzzing. Don't tell me it's 50 billion. 50 billion in liquid assets was an insane amount. Even the Vance family couldn't produce that much cash without liquidating major real estate holdings. Scarlet pursed her lips, shifting her crossed legs into a more languid pose. You're off by a little bit, but you're in the right ballpark. Asher's mouth twitched. He didn't take her seriously, assuming she was just bragging. All right. Tell your assistant to send the total loss to Jasmine, and I'll cover it. I'm heading back now. He stood up to leave, but Scarlet suddenly called out. Asher, what now? He asked, turning back in confusion. A hand grabbed his. The next thing he knew, something soft and warm pressed against his mouth. His eyes went wide with shock. Holy crap. Is this a new trend for female leads? Just force themselves on a guy? Oh wait, the she-devil is a villain. She doesn't play by heroine rules. Scarlet was still lost in the moment when her nose twitched. She seemed to catch a scent. A dangerous light flashed in her eyes. She shot a provocative glare at Anya, who was standing right behind Asher. Though Anya's face remained impassive, her fingertips twitched almost imperceptibly. A strange, unprecedented feeling rose within her. It was subtle, bizarre, but it was there. Let go of Asher. Asher's mind went completely blank. This felt surreal. How did the she-devil have the guts to do this? Pinning him against the wall, right in front of the Dragon Queen. Unbelievable. He thought Anya wouldn't react, but he was dead wrong. The sound of footsteps grew closer from behind him. To prevent a fight from breaking out, Asher had to pry Scarlet off him first. The Dragon Queen's combat prowess was terrifying. Forget Scarlet. Even Asher stood no chance against her. Finally getting a chance to breathe, he coughed a few times and called out to his bodyguard. Anya, I'm fine. At his words, Anya paused. But the she-devil wasn't about to give him a reprieve. She lunged forward to try again. Anya moved faster, grabbing Asher's arm and pulling him to her side. Scarlet raised an eyebrow, a playful smirk on her face. Miss Bodyguard, what do you think you're doing? My husband and I are having a romantic moment. If it makes you uncomfortable, you're free to leave. Anya's face was a stone mask. Asher is mine. Asher stared, completely baffled. What kind of screwed-up confession was that? Scarlet was also taken aback for a second, but they both quickly realized it wasn't a confession. Anya, sensing the inappropriateness of her statement from her professional standpoint, thought for a second and corrected herself. My boss. Scarlet let out a sigh of relief, then gave the deadpan girl an exasperated look. As long as this girl didn't get physical, Scarlet had a million ways to drive her crazy. She feigned surprise, then smiled. Oh, so Asher's your boss? That's wonderful. I'm his wife, so how about you call me Madam Boss? Anya tilted her head. Madam Boss. Scarlet's heart skipped a beat. Wow, she really was easy to fool. Asher's mouth twitched. Oh no. A human IQ test. Yes, dear, Scarlet cooed sweetly, slowly advancing. That's a good girl. Now, the boss and I have a multi-hundred-million-dollar project to discuss. It's very important and can't be delayed. Miss Bodyguard, why don't you wait in the general manager's office for a bit? Scarlet looked like the big bad wolf trying to trick Little Red Riding Hood. Asher was stunned by her audacious, R-rated language. The she-devil was on another level. He debated whether to flee or stay and discuss this very serious project. Before he could decide, Anya grabbed his arm and pulled him away. You can talk on the phone, she stated flatly, leaving Scarlet and Asher completely dumbfounded. Her intelligence had just leveled up. It was a miracle. Asher felt like he'd just survived a near-death experience. The she-devil was in an unusually good mood today. If he'd stayed, he would have been toast. Even with all the buffs from his system, he didn't think he was ready for that. Graciously, Scarlet stepped aside to let them pass. She wasn't the type to cause a scene. Such tactics were beneath her. She knew what Anya was capable of, thanks to Asher's inner thoughts. Subtlety was the key. Honey, if you want some candy, you're always welcome here, she called out, waving a delicate hand and giving the retreating Asher a seductive wink. I have 4 packs left. The offer expires soon. Asher nearly stumbled. So damn bold. Anya's reflexes were sharp. She steadied him instantly. Asher, do you like candy? She asked, curious. His reaction had been so extreme that it had piqued her interest. Asher composed himself, fighting off a wave of intense embarrassment. It's not a matter of liking it or not, he said, talking complete nonsense with a straight face. It's a very rare type of candy. I wouldn't say I like it, but I have it occasionally. Anya nodded as they walked. Whatever kind you like, I can buy it for you. Whoa, An offer like that? Asher sucked in a breath, then waved his hands dismissively. No, I appreciate the thought, but it's fine. Anya, this candy isn't that kind of candy. You're too young. You can't handle it. Arrobas $10, 10%, arrobas et. After venting internally and contemplating the next likely plot point, Asher felt a little better. Anya listened to it all with her usual blank expression. If she were capable of facial expressions, it would have been one of pure, unadulterated enlightenment like noted or my boss plays on a different level. Meanwhile, at the Thorne family estate, Grandfather Thorne, you look as vigorous as ever. My master will surely look upon the Thorne family with favor when he hears of your kindness, Leo Flynn said with a charming, almost predatory smile. Marcus Thorne stroked his beard. Leo, my boy, if you could just put in a good word for this old man, I'd be more than satisfied. Leo waved a hand. Grandfather Thorne, please. It's the least I can do. I still haven't properly thanked you for your help in taking down Leo, the bull Petrocelli. A trivial matter, not worth mentioning, Marcus said. Come, try some of this fine Tigunian tea I've been saving. Then I'd be honored. Leo hadn't come to the Thorne estate without a purpose. For one, he wanted to thank Zara for her assistance with the lights that night. More importantly, he wanted to win over Marcus's granddaughter. Of the 4 great families, only the Thornes had shown him any goodwill. The others wouldn't give him the time of day. He'd been chatting with this old codger all day, but every time he brought up Zara, the old fox would expertly change the subject, insisting he wanted to meet Leo's master. As if his master, a man of such stature, would ever set foot in a place like this. Leo checked his watch. He couldn't drag this out any longer. He decided to go for the direct approach, leaving Marcus no room to dodge. Grandfather Thorne, as they say, a man must marry and a woman must wed. I may not be perfect, but I have some skills. Miss Zara Thorne is not yet married. I was hoping you might act as a matchmaker for us. I know you can't force matters of the heart, but all I ask is for an opportunity to speak with her. I'll find a way to make her fall for me. Leo was supremely confident. As long as Zara was single, he could win her over. His incredible luck with women abroad had been legendary. Beautiful women threw themselves at him. Why should it be any different back home? He refused to accept it. Well now, Marcus was at a loss for words. He hadn't expected Leo to be so blunt. He should have at least offered his master's contact info as an exchange. Marcus felt like he'd been outmaneuvered, but refusing now would be awkward. He did see potential in this ambitious and powerful young man. After a moment's hesitation, he said, that granddaughter of mine has impossibly high standards. She hasn't even agreed to meet any of the suitors I've arranged for her. If you think you have what it takes, then this old man certainly has no objections. Then I thank you, Grandfather Thorne. Leo couldn't suppress the joy in his eyes. All that smooth talking had finally paid off. Marcus waved a hand dismissively. Don't mention it, Leo. Such formalities make us seem like strangers. Yes, of course, Leo nodded eagerly. At this point, he would have agreed if the old man had claimed to be God himself. They were practically family now. A few pleasantries cost him nothing. After a bit more small talk, Marcus stood up. I'll have someone call Zara over. Last time I was in the way. This time, I'll make myself scarce. You wait here, Leo. Grandfather Thorne, you're too kind, Leo said with a charming smile, thinking to himself. This old man knows how to play the game. He was probably the reason I couldn't make a move last time. With the old third wheel voluntarily removing himself, Leo's confidence soared. Once Marcus was gone, Leo stood up, straightened his clothes, and checked his reflection in his phone's camera. He looked good today, his energy was high. He composed himself, projecting an air of gentle sophistication, and sat down to wait. Before long, a figure in crimson appeared. Miss Thorne, you're here, Leo said, rising to his feet with a smile, carefully hiding the avarice in his eyes. No matter how many times he saw Zara Thorne, her beauty made his heart race. She was on par with Serafina Hayes. Serafina was off the table for now. He would secure Zara first. He desperately needed one of the 4 great families as a pawn on his chessboard. Zara's expression was ice cold. She looked at him as if he were a complete moron. You're the one who summoned me. You don't know I'm here. Leo's skin was thicker than a castle wall. Please, Miss Thorne, have a seat. Tea, he offered, acting as if he owned the place. Zara had no time for his games. If you have something to say, say it. She'd been abruptly called over by her grandfather and suspected Leo had figured out the truth about the Petrocelli incident and was here to confront her. Even so, she wasn't worried. This was Thorne territory. If Leo dared to make a move, whether he'd leave the estate alive was an open question. Miss Thorne. Oh, Zara, Can I call you Zara? Leo asked with a casual smile. Zara's face contorted in disgust. Get lost. He ignored her. Miss Thorne, thank you for your help with the Leo Petrocelli matter. Thank you. Zara gave him a strange look. Leo nodded. Yes, if you hadn't turned off the lights, it would have taken me much more effort. His words were so astoundingly dumb, they reset her entire thought process. Zara realized she'd been overthinking things. The man in front of her was a complete buffoon. She began to seriously doubt everything. If Asher hadn't been holding back, he could have probably tricked this idiot into bankruptcy. And this was the Dragon King, leader of the Dragon's Den? She was now certain it was just a bunch of hooligans playing make-believe. I helped because of my grandfather. If there's nothing else, I'm leaving. Zara couldn't stand to be in the same room with him for another second. She was afraid she'd lose control and have her men shoot him. Why is this chick so hostile? Leo was completely baffled. Miss Thorne, I'd like to take you to dinner to show my gratitude. Zara stopped walking. Leo felt a flicker of hope. As long as she didn't outright refuse, anything was possible. His hope was shattered into a million pieces by her next words. Do you think you're handsome? Do you think you're powerful? She sneered. Don't tell me you actually believe every girl is supposed to fall for you. In my eyes, you're scum. No, calling you scum is a compliment. You're not even worth that much. Do you know what I hate most in this world, Leo? I hate hypocrites. And you are a thorough, complete hypocrite. You want to get close to me so you can control the Thorne family? Heh, my grandfather might be a fool, but I'm not. I will never like you in this life. And I won't in the next one either. Because the man I like is Asher Vance. Every word was a dagger to the heart. Leo had his pride. To be torn down so viciously by a woman. He had a temper too. Did she think he was some pathetic, weak-willed protagonist from a trashy novel? To be insulted at will. Fine, he seethed. Zara Thorne, you remember what you said today. Just don't ever fall into my hands. Forcing down his rage, he ground out the words. There was more than one way to take over the Thorne family. Destroying it and then rebuilding it under his control was also an option. He stormed out of the Thorne estate, fuming. Asher. It was always Asher. Leo couldn't understand it. Why were all the women he wanted inexplicably drawn to Asher Vance? The man was a useless, decadent rich boy. Leo's own qualifications were far superior, his potential limitless. Yet these gorgeous, top-tier women flocked to Asher. Or maybe he had been too merciful since returning to the country. Asher is human. He bleeds, doesn't he? A murderous glint flashed in Leo's eyes. He disdained dirty tactics like ambushes, but if pushed to the brink, he would use any means necessary to achieve his goals. Ah, Leo? Leaving already? How did your talk go? Marcus, who was strolling through the gardens, called out cheerfully when he saw Leo heading for the exit. Leo's face was a thundercloud. He didn't even bother to answer, marching straight towards the gate. Marcus slapped his forehead. Oh no, that little troublemaker Zara has done it again. The moment Leo was gone, Marcus rushed back to the courtyard. Seeing that Zara hadn't left, he hurried over. Zara, if you had a problem with Leo, you should have just told me. There was no need to humiliate him to his face. Marcus was a shrewd old man. He knew his granddaughter's temper. Zara must have said something incredibly harsh to provoke such a reaction from Leo. A smile bloomed on Zara's face. Grandfather, you don't know him. That man is rotten to the core. Don't be fooled by his act. Marcus's eye twitched. It wasn't proper to speak ill of someone behind their back, especially since his impression of Leo had been quite positive. Zara, it's not my place to say, but you're not getting any younger. Let's say, for the sake of argument, you don't like Leo. You should still be dating someone. Your parents can't control you, so they just let you be. I'm only speaking up because I'm old. In a few years, you'll be 30. I don't know if I'll even be around to see a great-grandchild. In this family, you're the one I have the highest hopes for. You have to give this old man something to look forward to. Suddenly, a blush crept onto Zara's cheeks. Marcus saw it. There was a chance. This granddaughter of his was too secretive. When did she get a crush on someone without telling him? It was outrageous. He pressed on eagerly. Who is he? Which family's young master? Just tell me. With our family status, who wouldn't be a good match for us? Marcus spoke with absolute confidence. And he had every right to. The Thorne family was no small power. As one of the 4 great families, they held sway in both the criminal underworld and legitimate business. Their network of connections, in some ways, surpassed even that of the Yang family, the nominal head of the 4. Money couldn't solve everything. Sometimes, you needed muscle. Zara didn't want to deflate her grandfather's confidence. But the family of the boy she liked was on a completely different level. She bit her lip. Grandfather, the family of the boy I like. They're more powerful than us. more powerful than us. Marcus paused, mentally running through the younger generation of the other three families and even the elite circles in D.C. There were only a few candidates, but the Thorne family was formidable. It would be a union of equals. He squared his shoulders, pounding his chest. What's there to be afraid of? Tell me who it is. It's his good fortune to be noticed by my precious granddaughter. If he dares to refuse, I'll risk this old life of mine to make the wedding happen. And if the boy still doesn't know what's good for him, I'll have him tied up, put in a barrel, and dropped in the East River. Those words were music to Zara's ears. Grandfather and granddaughter were on the exact same wavelength. She didn't have the nerve to do it herself, nor could she bear the thought. But Marcus was different. He'd seen it all. If Asher truly broke her heart, she could only rely on her grandfather to tie him up and drop him in the river. You promised, grandfather. You can't take it back, she said first. Marcus, desperate for a great-grandchild, readily agreed. No takebacks, no takebacks. Now hurry up and tell me. Okay. Zara took a deep breath, her enchanting fox-like eyes curving into crescents. It's Asher Vance of the Vance family. I was wondering who it could be. Turns out it's Van. See. Marcus waved a hand, his expression suddenly shifting. His mouth began to twitch uncontrollably. Which Vance family? The one above, the four great families. The Vance family everyone in the country knows, Zara said with a smile. It finally dawned on Marcus. He had been completely, utterly played. The Vances? Were they a family you could just provoke? The Thornes were powerful, yes. But shaking the Vance family? That was a pipe dream. Unless some cataclysmic event occurred, it was an impossibility for generations to come. Besides, the Vance family had an excellent reputation. Marcus had no desire to mess with them. Was he tired of living? Had he been kicked in the head by a donkey? The family might be great, but Asher Vance's reputation was not. Marcus thought for a moment and said seriously, Ahem. Zara, let's find someone else. I've heard things about Asher Vance. He's a young playboy with a terrible reputation. Lately, he's been completely infatuated with that Hayes girl, chasing her all over town. Zara blinked, a smile playing on her lips. That's all fake. He told me himself he doesn't actually like Serafina Hayes that much. Marcus paused, then his face fell. Even if he doesn't like the Hayes girl, he's been a good-for-nothing his whole life. He has no ambition. What kind of happiness could you find with a man like that? I admit, his parents left him enough money to last several lifetimes, but our family doesn't need their money or connections. Your happiness is what matters most. By the end, Marcus's tone was tinged with envy. If his parents had been that powerful, he wouldn't have had to struggle so hard. The comparison was just depressing. But his concern for Zara's future was genuine. Zara replied, The world misunderstands him, just like you do. But I understand him. Grandfather, remember your promise. I'll give him my best shot. If he still refuses to marry me, you can throw him in the river to feed the fish. Marcus was on the verge of tears. Zara, this is negotiable. First, just tell me how you even fell for him. Grandfather, I have to go, Zara said, and without another word, she skipped away, her mood visibly buoyant, leaving Marcus standing alone, speechless and utterly defeated by the emotional whiplash. That evening, at a high-end restaurant, the more I think about it, the angrier I get. The more I back down, the more I lose. Leo Flynn's good mood from the past few days had been utterly destroyed by Asher Vance. The four great families? He muttered to himself. I'll topple the Vance family first, then I'll come for each of you one by one. He had the means. Both Cassie Lee and Anya Kuznetsov were positioned right next to Asher, ready to strike at any moment. But now wasn't the right time to try and swallow the Vance fortune. Buzz. Buzz. His phone vibrated on the table. Leo glanced at the caller ID before answering. What is it, Manny? Dragon King. There's a lead role in a PSA. You want it? Leo was baffled. If it weren't Manny Marcos' name on the screen and his voice on the line, he would have thought it was a prank call. Already in a foul mood, Leo's anger flared. Manny, are you sick? Do you think I have nothing better to do? No, Dragon King. That's not what I meant at all. It's just, I had to pull a lot of strings to get this, and the original lead actor had a last-minute conflict. That's the only reason I got the spot. Manny's voice trailed off meekly. You're insane, Leo snapped. Well, all right then. I'll just turn down this opportunity to work with Lena and... Manny's tone was full of disappointment. This gig hadn't been easy to land. He'd spent a fortune persuading the director. The PSA was just a pretense. The real goal was to get Leo close to the A-list actress Lena, and after seeing her at the gala, it wasn't just Leo who was captivated. Manny himself had been stunned by her beauty. A top-tier actress and an absolute bombshell. Who wouldn't be interested? If Leo didn't want it, maybe Manny would take the shot himself. Did you say Lena in? Leo's voice shot up several octaves. Manny was confused but replied, yes, Lena and the actress we saw at the gala. That's the one, Dragon King. Leo's interest was piqued. He sat up straighter, his tone suddenly serious. When does it shoot? Where? Manny was speechless for a second, but relieved. This was the Dragon King he knew. As long as he was interested, all was well. Manny smiled and relayed the details. Tomorrow morning. I'll send you the script in a bit. It's less than 20 lines. Excellent. Manny, you've done well, Leo said with genuine praise. Manny replied humbly, it's what I do, Dragon King. The next morning, in a spacious, sunlit office high up in a CBD tower, a film crew had taken over. The space, normally at capacity with 20 employees, was now packed with over 30 people. A portly, middle-aged man approached Leo Flynn, smiling amiably. Mr. Flynn, are you all set? Did you memorize the lines last night? Leo smiled back. I'm ready to go. Director Vic Liu, the middle-aged man, beamed. Excellent. We'll aim for a single take then. He said it, but privately he had his doubts. Leo had no acting experience. Besides being handsome and rich, Director Liu couldn't think of any other redeeming qualities. At least he was the pretty boy type. If he'd been some sleazy rich slob, the ad's impact would have been ruined. So, all in all, it wasn't a bad deal. While Director Liu made small talk with Leo, Leo's gaze kept drifting to a stunning figure across the room. The star of the show, Lena, and she was dressed in office attire, a white blouse, a pencil skirt, and impossibly sexy nude stockings that perfectly showcased the lines of her body. Her milky skin and ample cleavage were enough to make anyone's blood pressure spike. Leo admired her for a moment, a charming, roguish smile playing on his lips. The money had been well spent. It was expensive, but getting as close to Lena and was worth it. As Leo watched Lena, she was also watching him. Of course, she had no romantic interest in him whatsoever. She was just curious. It hadn't been long since the gala. Even though Leo was the protagonist of this world, she never thought their paths would cross again. But fate was a funny thing. Here he was, having somehow finagled his way into the lead role opposite her. Director Liu beckoned to her. Lena, come meet our other lead. This is Mr. Leo Flynn. Lena stood and walked over. Hello. We meet again. She made no move to shake his hand. Leo didn't mind, a pleased look on his face. Missin', you have a great memory. Watching them, Director Liu was confused. They know each other? Then what was the point of my introduction? How could Lena not remember him? He was the guy who had tried to steal the Yang family's beauty product deal at the gala, only to be humiliated when his product proved inferior. That alone had left a terrible first impression. But she was a world-class actress. Hiding her emotions was second nature. Even Leo couldn't easily detect her true feelings, especially not when he was already floating on Cloud 9. Soon, Director Liu called everyone to their positions, and Leo composed himself. The public service announcement was about labor laws, depicting a ruthless boss exploiting his employee, who then fights back with the law. The script had been cut from 20 lines to 10, but Leo didn't care. As long as it got him closer to Lena, he would have played a potted plant. He was cast as the ruthless boss. Mr. Flynn, don't be nervous. Just relax. If the first take doesn't work, we'll do a second, the director advised. He'd seen plenty of rich guys buy their way into roles to get close to Lena, and Leo wasn't the first, and he wouldn't be the last. After all, Lena was the ultimate prize. No boyfriend, no scandals, no romantic history. Who wouldn't want to marry a superstar like her? Seeing Leo nod, Director Liu raised his megaphone. Places everyone. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Action. The camera first panned across the bustling office extras. Men and women in professional attire were on the phone, making copies, or staring intently at computer screens, creating a convincing scene of a busy workplace. Then, the camera focused on Leo. Sitting in the boss's chair, he wore a dark expression. He glanced at his watch, then at the door. The subtle details of his performance were perfect, a simmering rage, expertly suppressed. Director Liu and the crew collectively held their breath. Yes, that's it. Restraint. This pretty boy wasn't just handsome, he could act. Liu was so mesmerized that he almost missed his cue. A nudge from a crew member brought him back to reality. The camera cut to the hallway outside. Bang! The door was thrown open, and Lena rushed in, looking flustered. As a seasoned actress, her performance was flawless. She looked exactly like an employee who was late for work and terrified of being caught. Her part of the scene was done. Liu considered calling a cut to give Leo time to adjust, but he quickly abandoned the thought. The camera whipped back to Leo, He was on his feet in an instant, striding towards Lena, his face a mask of fury. His voice boomed, several decibels louder than before. You again? How many times have I told you? Don't be late for work. Don't be late. Do you not understand English? Lena and the others were momentarily stunned. His presence was so commanding. He was exactly like a real, tyrannical boss. It was like he was born for the role. Unlike the others, Lena snapped back into character instantly, stammering meekly, "Sir, I was only 30 seconds late." Leo was imperious. 30 seconds? Is 30 seconds not time? Did you finish the triple workload I gave you last night, unpaid? Lena nodded, quickly pulling documents from her briefcase and handing them to him respectfully. She looked utterly pitiful. Leo snatched the papers, scanned them for a few seconds, then flung them into the air like confetti. So what if you finished? You were late. You're fired. Get out. He sneered and turned his back on her. The camera lingered on Lena's stunned face for a moment before panning back to Leo's retreating figure. The entire crew was in awe. This kid was incredible. His acting was superb, his line delivery packed with emotion. It didn't feel like a performance at all. It was like they'd found a real-life corporate villain. Director, we're done. Time for the next scene, a crew member reminded him, snapping him out of his trance. Lou swallowed hard and nodded quickly. Right. Prepare for the second half. Boom. A clap of thunder sounded from the speakers. Just as Leo turned his back, he spun around again, his face contorting into an expression of terror. This time, however, his performance was much stiffer. It had been a long time since he'd felt genuine fear. Across from him stood Lena, now dressed as a magical girl, holding a sparkling wand in one hand and a small red booklet in the other. Emblazoned on the cover were the words, Labor Laws of America. It had to be said, the A-list star dressed in a campy cosplay outfit was a sight to behold. The production team had originally planned for a more serious, historical costume, but they decided a magical girl would better appeal to a younger demographic. A public education campaign had to start with the kids. After all, the new outfit was perfect. Even if people didn't recognize the character, they would after this ad aired. Lena wore the costume flawlessly. Lena's cheeks were flushed with a hint of embarrassment, but as a professional, she held her composure. As long as the director didn't yell cut, she had to keep going. Not just the crew, but all the extras were staring, mesmerized. And so was Leo. He swallowed hard, snapped back to the scene, and put on a terrified expression. He staggered backward, muttering, "Stay away from me. Stay away." Thud. He tripped and fell flat on his butt. This wasn't in the script. He had been so captivated by Lena's appearance, his mind filled with fantasies of them training together in that outfit, that he'd lost his footing. His fall plunged the set into a dead silence. Everyone, including Leo himself, was frozen. It was mortifying. He wanted nothing more than to march over and slap the director. What kind of stupid script was this? Making him fall and embarrass himself in front of everyone. Damn it. If the situation were different, Lena would have been looking at him with utter disdain. How do you trip over your own feet? A moment later, Director Lou's excited voice broke the silence. Cut. Everyone let out a collective sigh of relief. The director, surprisingly nimble for his size, hurried over to Leo. Mr. Flynn, that fall was a stroke of genius. A true masterstroke. You must have planned that, right? It just took the ad to a whole new level. Lou gushed with praise, but his words sounded strange to Leo. He felt like the fat man was mocking him. If it weren't for all the eyes on him, especially Lena's, he would have decked him. Thanks, Leo grunted, his face dark. The director finally sensed something was wrong. Mr. Flynn, about that shot where you fell. It was just something I improvised. Cut it, Leo said coolly, a threatening edge to his voice. Lou swallowed. He didn't want to lose such a perfect shot. Besides, Leo's performance really did show talent. After a moment of thought, the portly director had an idea. Mr. Flynn, I have another script here. This time it's not a PSA, it's a feature film. And it's another collaboration with Missin. We had a few actors in mind for the male lead, but they have other commitments, and frankly, I think you have the acting chops for it. What do you think? The movie script in his hand was solid, but hiring Lena and had already taken a huge chunk of the budget. Bringing in another big-name male star would be great for marketing, but it would leave very little for the director and crew. Lou felt he deserved a bigger piece of the pie for all his hard work. Besides, the film's main draw was the female lead, not the male. Any decent actor could play the part. Leo's heart leaped. Another chance to work with her? This was perfect. Proximity breeds affection. A movie set would surely provide opportunities for physical contact. Even if it didn't, he wasn't going to pass this up. He feigned hesitation for a moment, then said, I suppose I could do it. Director Liu smiled. Wonderful, but you have to cut the shot of me falling, Leo added. The director's face fell. Damn it, he didn't forget. But Liu wasn't one to be pushed around. You know, Mr. Flynn, I was just remembering a few other excellent actors who might be available, he said, feigning thoughtfulness. Leo's jaw tightened. He silently cursed the shameless fat man. Since the fall was such a masterstroke for the ad, I suppose you can leave it in. Director Liu rubbed his chubby hands together, his face breaking into a wide grin. After careful consideration, Mr. Flynn, I believe you're the perfect fit for the film. The crew was already packing up. Thanks to Leo's surprisingly competent performance, the shoot had gone smoother than expected. All that was left was editing, which would be handled by the post-production team. That afternoon, Director Liu generously treated the entire crew to a meal at a high-end restaurant. He and Lena had worked together many times, and he always brought his best scripts to her first. After much pleading from the director, Lena had reluctantly agreed to attend. At the meal, Liu told her that the male lead for the next film would be Leo Flynn. Lena wanted to scream. The predatory way Leo looked at her made her skin crawl, and after hearing about his character from Jessica Yang and the others, his harmless act was all the more repulsive. Thankfully, the meal eventually ended. Lena left in her chauffeured limousine. She had read the script Liu gave her, and the story was compelling. A good performance could elevate her career to another level. But for some reason, she just couldn't bring herself to work with Leo Flynn. Oh, miss, the driver asked. Lena waved a hand. Just drive around for a bit. Yes, miss. She was torn. On one hand, she didn't want to give up the script. On the other, she didn't want to work with Leo. An actress at her level wasn't working for money anymore. She was working to cement her legacy, to leave her mark on cinematic history. Every year brought new award winners. To become a true, undisputed legend was no easy feat. Lena picked up her phone and scrolled through her contacts. She had very few real friends, people who had her personal number. In the shortlist, she found Cassie Lee. Feeling bored and needing to vent, Lena sent her an emoji. Lena, and funny panda sticker, hey gorgeous, you there? A reply came back almost instantly. Cassie Lee. Well, look what the cat dragged in. The superstar herself. Hope you're doing well. Happy face emoji. Lena smiled and started typing. Cassie was a natural at talking to pretty girls, and before long, Lena had poured out the whole story of her day. She did it completely willingly, getting more animated as she typed, with Cassie playing the role of the eager listener, gobbling up the first-hand celebrity gossip. But this particular piece of gossip left a bitter taste in Cassie's mouth. A fire ignited in her eyes. That son of a bitch Dragon King was trying to poach from her own backyard. Inside the general manager's office at Vance Corporation. 3 of a kind with a single. I'm down to my last card, Asher announced with a grin. I'll play. 3 deuces and a 4, Jasmine John said, slapping her cards down. Asher was the landlord in this round, and she couldn't let him win. Hit. Mister Vance, you're out of cards now, right? All I have left are pairs. You're toast. A triumphant smirk spread across her face. Asher just smiled. A loss was fine. He'd been winning way too much anyway. Suddenly, the game took a sharp turn. Big joker, little joker. And a 3, Anya said flatly, tossing down her last cards. The expression on Jasmine's face was a masterpiece of emotional whiplash. It went from triumphant to baffled to thunderous, and finally to a deep, frustrated red that spread down her neck. She threw the rest of her hand onto the table. Anya, you're doing this on purpose, aren't you? I swear you are. Once or twice is one thing, but this is every single time. That's it, mister. Vance, I'm done. I'm going back to work. The stakes for their game of Fight the Landlord were $1,000 a hand. Asher had also officially decreed that Jasmine could be a slacker with permission for the day. She had happily accepted the offer to get paid for playing cards with her boss. When they needed a third player, Asher had roped in Anya. The world's #1 assassin learned everything with terrifying speed, and the rules of the card game were simple. She picked it up in minutes and immediately broke it. Every single round, regardless of who was the landlord, Anya would find a way to help Asher win. A couple of times, Anya herself had been the landlord, and she'd practically thrown the game, playing 1 or 2 cards before letting Asher sweep the board. It was no wonder Jasmine was so furious. Anyone else would have had an aneurysm. Jasmine was relatively good-natured, but even she had her limits. Jasmine, don't go yet, Asher called out. Go find another female colleague, and we can play some mahjong. Jasmine's expression was complicated. She looked at Asher, then at Anya sitting beside him. If they played mahjong, Anya would just blatantly feed him tiles. The new colleague would probably lose her mind. She was about to shake her head and say, I can't do it, my lord, when a sharp knock echoed from the door. Coming, Jasmine answered, temporarily shelving her refusal. She got up to open the door. Standing outside was a tall, stunningly beautiful, mixed-race woman. "Can I help you?" Jasmine asked, momentarily taken aback by Cassie Lee's appearance. Thankfully, she was a woman of considerable beauty herself, almost on par with the bombshell in front of her. Okay, maybe a slight notch below, but it wasn't a huge gap. Cassie was also surprised to see Jasmine answer the door. She scanned the room, confirmed Asher was still there, and let out a sigh of relief. "I'm here to see Mr. Vance," she said with a smile. Jasmine blinked, then stepped aside. "He's inside." "Whoa, Cassie, perfect timing," Asher said, looking up from the card table. "Jasmine, you don't have to leave now. We were one short, but now we have 4 for a game of mahjong." Jasmine's face became a mask of dead seriousness. She spouted a complete fabrication. "Boss, while I am incredibly grateful for the royally sanctioned slacking, duty is duty. As long as I am an employee of Vance Corporation, I must work diligently to earn my salary. All hail work. I love to work." With that, the secretary scurried away, afraid that if she moved too slowly, Asher would physically force her to stay. She knew her boss's temperament. As long as she gave a clear reason, he wouldn't get angry or hold it against her later. Jasmine's departure left Asher in an awkward position. He had been so focused on the game that he'd forgotten his circumstances. He looked around. Here he was, in his office, with 2 of the Dragon's Den's top agents. And him? A powerless mortal. How was he supposed to handle this? "Cassie, you were looking for me?" Asher asked, feigning composure. Inside, he was panicking. Cassie's eyes finally landed on Anya, who was staring at her with a dangerous glint. The hair on Cassie's arm stood up, but for the sake of her future new girlfriend, she gritted her teeth, braced against the oppressive aura radiating from the Dragon Queen, and pushed forward. "Mr. Vance, have you been free lately?" The question caught Asher off guard. "Free? Why are you asking? Don't tell me you're trying to hit on me." "Oh wait, my mistake. You're the tofu-hearted heroine. You're the last person who would do that. Or, are you guys planning your next move? A full-scale assault?" Asher smiled, deciding to lie through his teeth. "What makes you think I'm free? I'm an incredibly busy man. I work from morning till night, absolutely exhausted with no time to rest." Cassie's gaze fell on the playing cards scattered on the table. She had just heard him trying to recruit her for a mahjong game. His secretary was cute, but she was nothing compared to Lena, and who had that superstar aura. Seducing a celebrity like that would be incredibly satisfying. "Ahem. Boss, I know you're busy," Cassie said, playing along. "But a good friend of mine, an actress, has run into some trouble. She landed a great script, but the male lead was just replaced by Leo Flynn. You know, that security guard who was competing with you for Miss Hayes." Cassie laid out her case, deliberately poking at Asher's known dislike for Leo. Asher was stunned. The plot was advancing on its own. He remembered this part from the original novel. The protagonist wins the heroine's heart while they're shooting a movie, which becomes a blockbuster hit. As the villain, he was supposed to show up and cause trouble, interfering with the protagonist's romantic pursuits. In the original story, after Jessica Yang's birthday party, Serafina Hayes grew tired of the original Asher's obsessive behavior and left with Leo, shattering the simp's dreams. That's when the original Asher's focus shifted from pursuing Serafina to just making the protagonist's life miserable. Everything had been going according to plan until Jessica's party, where nothing happened as it should have. The plot had gone completely off the rails. Thankfully, the system had told him not to worry. He just had to show up and make his appearances in the later scenes. Asher took a deep breath. Sigh. You really can't skip the required scenes. Even when he forgot the path he was supposed to walk, someone would always show up to remind him. What a miserable life. He feigned interest. "Oh really? That Leo Flynn again. First, he tried to steal Serafina from me. Now that he has her, he's chasing other women. Does he really think I won't retaliate?" Asher recited his original lines, not knowing what else to say. Cassie nodded in fervent agreement, helping him trash-talk Leo. "You're a man of action, boss. At the end of the day, Leo is just some trashy security guard. Don't let him think he can do whatever he wants just because he's made a few rich friends. In New York City, you're the real deal." Asher's mouth twitched. The more he listened, the weirder it got. Is it really okay for you to talk about the Dragon King of your Dragon's Den like that? He was just half-heartedly reading his lines. But Cassie's reaction was more intense and emotional than his own.